me and Steven were together for a while and just kind of making our way around people. And, you know, I just kind of, I didn't know, like, whether to sprint or kind of hold back a little bit. But, you know, I didn't know how I was going to feel at the end in the beginning. And then got about, like, halfway in. I was like, all right, I think I could hold this pace. Then everybody else started to slow down, it seemed like, and I could just keep maintaining that same pace. But, yeah, just kept picking everybody off. And once I got up to second, just, like, tried to hold a good pace and get it to the finish, because that last lap is so brutal here. But pretty pumped to come away with a second. My hands aren't too destroyed, so it was an awesome day. You know, you can't fake it at this track. It shows who's a real man.
Once I found my groove, I was good to go. I knew at the end I'd be good. I know I can work hard at the end, so I just put the hammer down and, you know, did my best. That's all I could do. Overall, it was a good day, and stayed smooth, and, you know, all glory to God. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here right now, so all glory to him.
The crowd goes wild. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the Podium. Here from the Moose Racing Wild Boar GNCC, and what you're looking at, it's a Moose Racing sweep up here on the box.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. It's round number 3 of the 2026 Progressive Grand National Cross Country Racing Series, your AMA National Championship, live from Talladega. Bryson Neal currently sits 2 for 2 on the season, and he's poised to try to make it 3 for 3 this weekend. But Wyatt Wilkins, John Glotta Jr., and Stephen Burrell plan on making it difficult, not to mention you can't count out Hunter Hart, Jay Shadron, and even Josh Merritt. Who's going to be able to snatch a win away, or can Bryson Neal keep it perfect so far in 2026? We're about to find out live here on Racer TV.
Are you ready to go? GNCC Racing!
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to round 3 of the 2026 GNCC Racing Series, the Talladega GNCC. Zach Heron alongside Johnny Gallagher. Johnny, second year here in Talladega, and I think it's safe to say this is a fan favorite.
Absolutely. You know, it is the super speedway, and boogity, 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 it's almost time to go racing, boys. Second year here, like you said, the track's shaping up nicely. A lot of enthusiasm coming into the weekend, and coming fresh off only 6 days ago, a battle in the sands of Florida.
Not only is Florida arguably the most physical round, but it's got the quickest turnaround time between round 2 and round 3. Not to mention, it's pretty warm here in Alabama this weekend so far already. So the riders really going to have the program dialed in as far as recovery. But we had some standout rides out in Florida. You got to talk about the man right now, sitting 1-1. Bryson Neal, he called it a sufferfest, a torture chamber, I think were the exact words. But nonetheless, he seemed to be feeling just fine out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looked like it was a brutal race for everyone, but Bryson Neal obviously coming out on top. We actually had a chance to catch up with our defending champion and perfect on the season, Bryson Neal, coming into today to get his thoughts on how 2026 is going so far.
It's a good feeling, you know, to win the first one. There's a lot of hype around that race, being the very first inaugural race. We got great weather tomorrow, what it looks like, and biking the track today looks awesome. Looks like it's got good moisture still in the soil. It's not too dry, so I think it's going to be really good racing. And you know, if we can start off the year with 3 races in a row, 3 wins, that'd be huge. That'd be a huge start for us. A lot of momentum, and that's what we're gunning for. We're going to try our best and try to get a good start. Be safe out there, be smart, take care of the bike, and we're gunning for number 3 tomorrow.
And like we said, Johnny, things just seem to be going well right now for the number one. Personal, team-wise, and then, of course, the race results to go as well. But meanwhile, things at that Phoenix Racing Yamaha crew have been looking mighty strong as well. John Glada Jr. grabbing his first podium. We've known he's got the speed. He's been getting that program dialed in. He's working with Levi Cohen now. Really seems like he's putting a hard push into 2026, and he turns it into a podium finish.
Absolutely. John's a rider that's always shown phenomenal speed. He has great bike skills, and it's always the thing you hear around John Glada is flying at the test track. It's off and on. You'll hear that week in and week out, but the reality of it was just 6 days ago on the sands of Florida, he put it to the test, got himself in the number 2 position on the box, and we got a chance to catch up with him and hear his thoughts on it.
You know, it feels really good. I've kind of gotten back to where I feel like I was before I got hurt, and then that took a while. And you know, I had like a couple good rides here and there, but just really wasn't feeling like myself. But this year, off season's gone good, and I'm really starting to feel like doing how I feel like I should be doing again.
Great stuff from John Glada. Now, on top of that, another rider building momentum from round 2 is Stephen Harrell, grabbing that first XC1 podium. Another rider we maybe thought was going to take a bit of a bigger step in 2025. He made some improvements, but you could almost see the weight lifted off his shoulders after getting that first XC1 podium.
Yeah, you know, Stephen is such a hard worker. To see him finally kind of get the spoils of GNCC race and the spray of champagne on the podium was a great feeling for all involved, and we got to hear it in his own words here when we caught up with him just a few moments ago.
Round 1, definitely a tough race. I mean, overall, it was a good, solid day, but, you know, just trying to get over these first couple laps, jitters, and, you know, I felt good, though, overall. Got a solid P6, and, you know, round 2 came in, and I felt confident. You know, I know later I can outwork these guys, so, you know, I just kept digging and, you know, came back with the P3 and first podium, so that was very awesome. So, you know, overall great day and good start to the season for sure.
Well, that's our podium from round 2, Johnny, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got Wyatt Wilkins second in points, missed out on the podium at round 2. Hunter Hart and Josh Merritt, I got to think they got a bit of a chip on the shoulder because we talk about it only being round 3, but this is a big point in the season. We'll be halfway through this thing before you know it. You got to get some momentum going right now.
Absolutely, and to that point, Zach, you know, these riders looking to keep themselves in the championship fight or get themselves there if they're not there right now. You mentioned Josh Merritt, a rider, number 3 from last season, obviously has not had the start to 2026 that he was hoping for. Hunter Hart in a great position, actually battling Bryson Neal early just 7 days ago in Florida, and then falling off of the podium. So, you know, those riders, as well as many others, are really going to be looking to establish themselves here today, get themselves back in the fight, and we're going to get to see how it all plays out here in just a few minutes.
Well, and it is as if that's not enough. They got to battle the competition, but they got to battle the track itself. We were able to stand by with Jackson Burrell and Jared Bolton to get a course description.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm here with our trail boss, Jared Bolton. We're back at Talladega. Jared, what can we expect?
Oh, man, you know, it's pretty similar to last year. We flipped the direction, and what that actually did is make the track flow a little bit better. You know, a lot of times when you go to a place for the first time, you realize, hey, this is really a lot of fun. This is pretty cool. And then when you go back and flip it around, you go, hey, this is even better than what we had before. So this is a little bit tighter track, but last year's rain that the bikes got opened up a lot of lines, so it's going to make things a little bit better for those ATV guys, give them some more passing opportunities. Really awesome racetrack here at Talladega, and we're excited to be back for another year.
There it is. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Back up to you.
All right, so now you've had a little preview of just what this Talladega racetrack is going to look like. We're going to turn the riders loose here in just a few moments, so they're going to get to see a little more of it. But first, we're going to send it down to the starting line with our man Jackson Burrell to do some 10-second calls.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVNC.com. Get ready.
And at this time, we would like to welcome our friends from around the world watching on Racer TV. Welcome to Lincoln, Alabama for the Talladega GNCC here for 2026. And boy, do we have a show for you guys now as we get ready to introduce to you your starting lineup. As I've said once, I'll say it again, you have to be one of the best to line up on row number 1 here of a progressive Grand National cross country race. And without a doubt, these are the best in the world that are getting ready to go head to head for 2 straight hours of progressive GNCC racing. At this time, this is where we like to ask it. Oh, take that back. We're ready to go with our rider introductions. So without any further ado, let's introduce them to you. Your starting lineup. Aboard the number 1 from Bedwell, Ohio on the Phoenix Racing Yamaha machine. Give an Alabama welcome to Bryson Neal. Rolling to the line next aboard the number 5 machine out of Hillsboro, Ohio on the Stewart Boys Racing. Kenda and Pierce Performance backed ride. Let's welcome Wyatt Wilkin. Rolling to the line next. Also aboard a Phoenix Racing Yamaha machine aboard the 712 from Waxhaw, North Carolina. Let's hear it for John Glotta Jr. And here we go, rolling to the line next. Aboard the number 318. From Newfield, New York on the HHR Fly Racing and Quad Tag back ride, Hunter Hart. Rolling to the line next aboard the 908 out of Elk Ridge, Maryland on the BNR Motorsports Kenda and Fearless back ride. Let's welcome Stephen Harrell. Rolling to the line next aboard the number 7 machine from Acme, Pennsylvania. Aboard the Action Off-Road Maxxis and Lone Star back Yamaha machine. Let's welcome Jay Sharon. Woo, that's what I'm talking about, Jay. Rolling to the line next. He makes his way from Akron, Ohio. Aboard the Merritt Racing, B&R Motorsports, and GBC backed ride. Let's hear it for Josh Merritt. Rolling to the line next. On his final season of GNCC racing, I want you guys to get loud and get proud for this one. A fan favorite aboard the 521. Can he do a gator roll here today? On the over, Moose Racing, Parts Unlimited Lone Star from Waverly, West Virginia. Let's hear it for the Gator, Adam McGill. Rolling to the line next, he's gonna be on the t-shirt here this weekend. Aboard the number 9 from Sunbury, Pennsylvania on the Action Off-Road, Amsoil, and CB Racing back Yamaha machine. Let's hear it for Chris Borich. He's been on fire here for the first couple rounds of racing. Aboard the number 15 machine from Walker, West Virginia on the Stewartville Power Sports Maxxis and Moose Racing back ride. Let's hear a round of applause for Brandon Owens. Rolling to the line next on the 171. Phoenix Racing Yamaha machine from Salisbury, North Carolina, Grayson Eller. And rolling to the line next. Aboard the number 8 from Casca, Pennsylvania, on the JMR, GBC, Elka, and Moose Racing backed Honda machine. Let's hear it for Jared McClure. And that, my friends, is your starting lineup. The best ATV racers in the world are just about set to roll. And now, say it with me, this is where we ask DJ Judd, throw on that pretty sparkle helmet. Hop in the RMAX 1000. And this is where we like to say, DJ Judd, remove the meat. Oh, yeah. It is just about time to shake 'em and bake 'em. So as our riders get ready, Ricky Towery gonna point down through the line and make sure that row number 1 is ready to go. And all eyes on the maestro, Ricky Towery, down in turn number 1 as Ricky check watch. The blue flag waves, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. And this is where we like to ask you, Talladega, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Now, but we are at the Talladega Super Speedway. It's time to shake and bake. I'm going to ask you one more time. Talladega, are you ready to go GNCC racing? In 10 seconds for row number 1, your XC1 Pro. And the green flag flies. We are racing, boys. Who is it going to be through the white stripe? And it is the number 8. Jared McClure going to grab the whole shot and the early lead. And here we go, turning our attention now to row number 2. Blue flag waves for our XC2 Pro-Am class. And they are set to roll in 10 seconds for Keaton Henderson, Talent, Kenny Schick, David Machisco, Damon Gresham, Don Keys, Andrew Vanoski, Danik Paquin, Trevor Furby, Braxton Gross, Elijah Edmondson, Jeremiah Wolf, David Witt, Rudy, Michael Brown, and it is the 2-4-7 machine. Elijah Edmondson with a whole shot in the early lead. Here we go, row number 3. Your College A class, shut them down. And here we go in 10 seconds. Marino, Evan Bridgewater, Ryan Willem, Blake Skirko, Cole Owens, Gary Rhodes, Camden Smith, Cooper Krug, Trip Alexo, Cole Brand, Noah Likens, Harrison Lindsay, Jackson McBee. Who's it gonna be? It is the 4-2-4. Cole Brandt grabs the whole shot and a pile up here in turn number 2. The boys gotta get them spun back around and they are off and rolling. Blue flag waves for row number 4. Blue flag waves. Junior A, 20 plus, coming up in 10 seconds for Aiden Jones, Evan Loeffler, Josh Axtell, Chad Hunt Jr., Garrison Poe, Michael Worth, Colton Shura, Caden Lambruno, Gavin Mann, Tyler Coulter, Slayton Collins, Gavin Temple. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? The 2.85 gonna get it done, Caden Lambruno. One rider tangled up there in turn number 1. And not clear, ready to roll. Blue flag waves for our Bet A 28 plus. Shut them down. And here we go. In 10 seconds for the Bet A, Jeremy Ladon, Alan Blavo, Simon Warren, Lance Roya, Cody Spino, Taylor Griffith, Cade Vanderpool, Alex Elioff, Taylor Arnold, Jason Como, Christopher Kirby, Cody Wolford, Zach Bothwell, Brody Livingood, Justin Willis, and Tanner Walker. And it is the 2-1-8 with the whole shot. That is Tyler Griffith getting the job done. Here we go, row number 6. Shut him down. Senior A 40 plus. In 10 seconds for Matthew Hartwell, Jeffrey Pickens, Ben Dunlap, Zachary Phillips, Chris Conklin, Dustin Hendershot, and Fred Marley. Let's see who it's going to be through the stripe first. The 303 going to get the job done. That is Jeffrey Pickens. Row number 7, your junior B, 19 and over. Shut them down. And here we go in 10 seconds for Tristan Howell, Coy Teeter, Caden Humphreys, Ryan Beebe, Blake Moore, Scott Lewis, Joey Stewart, Adam Saffel, Colby Baker, Anthony Granger, Cole Bothwell, Dylan Bothwell, and Cedric Hamill. Let's see who it's going to be here in this one. It is the 2:10 machine of Coy Teeter getting the job done. Here we go now with row number 8. Your Vet B 28 plus. Blue flag wave, shut them down. And here we go in 10 seconds for Tyler Miller, Barry Nicholson, Clint Watson, Kyle Patton, Joe Rutherford, Travis Raphael, and Levi Wilcox. Who's it gonna be to the stripe first? The 570 gonna get the job done. That is Travis Raphael out of Barrickville, West Virginia. Blue flag waves now for our next row, row number 9, our College B, 16 to 18, ready to roll in 10 seconds. Brady Shepard, Zade Kyle, Corbin Hill, Keegan Chicago, Cooper Kasler, Kel Vaughn, John Hancock, Connor Humphreys, Ethan Bridgewater, Trey Leitzman, Austin Harshbarger, Braden Toney, AJ Cottrell. Who's it going to be? A 4-rider battle, but it is the 414 that shuts the door. Ethan Bridgewater going to get the job done. And here we go with row number 10, Senior B, 40 plus, shut them down. Set to take the track in 10 seconds for Aaron Delancey, Joshua Howell, Nicholas Ringer, Douglas Bailey, Ricky Lewis, Joe DeHart, Dustin Barger, Robert Perry, Steve Charbono, Jeffrey Cohn, Forrest Cross, Craig Sluz, and Steve Kiggins. Who's it going to be? The 250 on the helmet. That is Joshua Howell. Woo! And it looks like the starting line is clean and clear. Be careful out in the woods, everybody. Watch for yourself. Don't become part of this race. that is going to do it for us here at the start of the 2026 Talladega GNCC. We're going to get ready to throw it to a break, and we'll be back with more action on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? Don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach. Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a night. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to round number 3 of the 2026 Progressive GNCC Racing Series. Boogity, boogity, boogity. We're here in Talladega, baby, year 2, and we are officially off and rolling. Sorry, Johnny, I had to get it in there. You know, that's about my 12th boogity, boogity, boogity.
That was supposed to be my boogity, boogity, but I'll let you have it for now. Because we're here at Talladega. Just 7 days ago, we were mere, maybe 50 miles-ish from Daytona. Now we're sitting here basically a few hundred feet away from Talladega Superspeedway. This place knows racing, and here we are, and we're getting it underway.
This is what it's all about, from left turn fever to GNCC fever. That's what it's all about. Let's show you how things got kicked off for our afternoon ATV Pro Race with our specialized start recap. Everybody been talking about how important it is to try to shut down Bryson Neal off the start. Big turnout, Talladega, a fan favorite, and Mother Nature's been playing nice with us so far this weekend. A little bit of an overcast sky, but absolutely beautiful conditions. When the sun peeks out, it gets a little bit warm. We're going to put the fitness to the test a little bit, but nothing quite like the situations that we had out in Florida. But meanwhile, when the flag went up, it was an all-out war headed into turn number 1, and it was going to be Jared McClure on the number 8 grabbing the whole shot. You see the number 1 of Bryson Neal, though, right in that number 2 spot. Wyatt Wilkin.
Did you catch the stand-up wheel of Jared McClure all the way down that straightaway? Didn't even race the first 2 rounds. Come right back to round 3 and straight to the front.
He makes a statement right there. So it is going to be Jared McClure grabbing the whole shot. We take a look at your XC2 Pro-Am class. And at this point, I don't even know what more you can say about the 247 machine. Watch him. You can see he's got that. I feel like he's always rocking the white gear up the inside. Gets on the brakes just in time. He's so calculated with the way he circles that inside. Little slideways action there in turn number 2. Must have been watching the Outlaw Series last night. But Elijah Edmondson gets the job done out of your XC2 class. The question is he going to be able to keep that speed up? He's got these starts dialed in. We know he's been kind of working back into a full 100% race condition. I think Elijah Edmondson making things easy on himself right now. We'll see what the rest of this 2-hour battle looks like. But before we get to that, let's take a look at our Yamaha racing track map. Johnny, a little bit of everything we hear out here in Talladega. Some Titan technical, some faster sections as well. Kind of the full menu out here at Dega.
Absolutely. Year 2 here at this facility, and the track is really starting to develop. Last year, everything new, very few trails, if any at all, just kind of some deer trails. Yep. And the track crew had to go out and cut it off. This year, obviously, we had that big mutter on Sunday, opening up some lines. They've gone back, reclaimed that, and it's given us a very raceable track with many more passing opportunities than we saw 1 year ago. We can see here on board with OPAG, our producer, Adam Gordon, out here on Friday. Hey, that front fender looks familiar. I think that might be my bike.
Wait a second.
He asked if he could take it for a rib, said with everything Yamaha does for the series, wanted to give a blue front fender there. So went out and putting the bike through its paces, and you could see the track in absolutely pristine condition yesterday. Like you said, Mother Nature been playing nice with us so far. Obviously, the wood's a lot more open. You can see where the riders last year on Sunday, as things got muddy, as ruts started to develop, they kind of moved around. Track crew doing a great job of leaving this track open, giving the riders some options, some passing opportunities, some alternate lines, and I think it's making for a very, very raceable Talladega GNCC racetrack here. Again, dry, but not super dusty. Obviously, on the start, we saw a lot of dust kicking up. It's windy, the sun's out, but the woods, the dirt, maybe what you might want to call brownie batter. It's just about perfect.
That is what it's all about. As we continue to watch, looks like this might be checking in with the front, and that was Bryson Neal. It looked like leading the way, and that is not what the rest of the XC1 field wanted to see. We saw, looked like Wyatt Wilkin was up in the mix. There is Josh Merritt. He has got to respond here today, not just because he's running the number 3, but because we know he has got to get the season back on track. Looks like maybe the 15 of Owens up in the mix as well. There is Jay Shadron.
There's Chris Borich. There's Hunter Hart.
All right.
There is John Glauda, second place finish at our race just 7 days ago. Here comes the Gator, Adam McGill, and then Grayson Eller on that 171 Phoenix Racing Yamaha. Yeah, as you pointed out, man, it looked like Brandon Owens was really pushing the pace up there early, and he is a rider I'd like to say we need to keep an eye on today because he is very, very good in these conditions. But look at this. Here comes the XC2 class, Elijah Edmondson out front on that number 247 machine. He was not only quick off the line, he's quick here on lap number 1, but he's got some company behind him. Looks like that is the 223 of Braxton Gross in the number 3 spot there. And the battle in that XC2 class is shaping up very quickly out there, Zach.
Well, speaking of company, we've got some company here in the Racer TV booth as well. Josh Harris hanging out with us from Talladega Superspeedway. Josh, you said you got to go check out some of the trails. A little bit different than the left turn fever you're probably used to.
That's right. This is such an awesome experience to be out here. You know, we got out on some quads yesterday. We got to take a little trip around the course, some parts of it. And, man, these riders are in for a treat over the next couple of days here, whether it's the quads today, the motos tomorrow. Such a cool experience and show that we can be able to partner with you guys on.
And it's something that we find extremely cool and extremely honored to be able to race here on Talladega as well. It's year number 2, but really seems like the relationship between GNCC and Talladega Superspeedway only getting stronger so far.
Yeah, you know, when we pulled in yesterday kind of to take a little bit of some laps around, it was so cool to see all the campers. You know, we're used to seeing so many campers here for our NASCAR events. So it was cool to come out here, see this campground full, see all the ATVs, the motos unloading, all the kids running around. Like every time I turn my head, such a cool experience to be part of.
And we couldn't be more glad to be a part of it. Johnny, we talked about it. This is, and I don't think it's just for all the Ricky Bobby references. I think this is a fan favorite because, like you said, it's kind of a new creation. We had last year and things continued to open up. And I was honestly surprised to hear Jared Bolton say that the muddy conditions last year opened things up even more. So the relationship between GNCC and the Talladega course itself, I think, going to continue to grow in the next few years.
Well, you know, exactly right, Zach. Obviously, the course continues to get better. The racing action continues to get better. But I think the real question is, you know, after 1 year, you guys kind of felt things out. Obviously, it was worth us coming back. Obviously, the GNCC faithful loved it. So coming back for year 3, we're going to get you guys out there to do some racing action yourself. You got to preview the course on Friday. I think it's time somebody suits up and goes out and experiences GNCC.
All right, so over the next 12 months, what I'm hearing is I got to start working on either get me a quad that we can really go out there on, or get me a moto and start training, and then we come back next year and we really take a trip around the course.
Tell you what, you think on it, you reach out. We know some folks from Yamaha. You pick 2 wheels or 4. We can get you a 4-wheel drive utility quad. Don't even have to worry about clutch or shifting. We can put you on a sport quad. We can put you on a dirt bike. Hell, we can get you out there and just turn you loose and see how it goes.
We'll be doing some off-season training while you guys keep the trails really fresh.
Well, we know the course is in place. It's right here in your backyard, so you can do some off-season training till we come back here in 365 days, and we'll get you out there and let you experience it all.
Yeah, this is such a great experience. So glad to have GNCC here this weekend, and looking forward, hopefully, to a long-term partnership.
All right, well, there it is. The Talladega 2027 starts right now. That is Josh Harris from Talladega Super Speedway joining us here in the Racer TV booth, and going for a bit of a ride right there. It was the number 1 of Bryson Neal out front, but man, that was a big kick he got right there, Johnny. Caught both of our attention.
He caught the edge of that rut there, and it looked like he just brushed the front tire off of that tree, and it really kind of set the machine off balance, just going to show how quickly things can change in this you can see almost the same thing happen to Stephen Harrell there as he comes through there in the number 5 spot. Then Jay Shadron, must just be that section of racetrack. These guys are carrying so much speed into that little G out. It's kind of kicking the back end. There's Jared McClure. There is Chris Bortz. There's Hunter Hart. There's John Glotta. There is Adam McGill, and just behind him is Grayson Eller. So that's pretty much the entirety of that XC1 class flying in formation here 9 miles into lap number 1. But flying out front, it's the big number 1 of Bryson Neal. He does have some pressure from Wyatt Wilkin. We've seen this already at round 1. Wyatt Wilkin kind of wanted to sink his teeth into Bryson Neal. He was able to match his pace throughout much of our first race. Just roughly 3 weeks ago now. So feeling stronger as the season's going on. You know that Wyatt Wilkins going to do everything he can to try to keep Bryson Neal in check. But lurking back there, Brandon Owens, who put in one heck of a ride 3 weeks ago at round number 1, nearly landing himself for his first ever career podium, just finishing off the podium in that number 4 spot. Again, I mentioned it earlier, and I'll mention it again. This kid is lightning tree to tree. I've never seen anybody, for a relatively slender, small kid, the way he throws that machine around. When I say kid, young man. He gets out there and just absolutely is so quick through these tight sections. Would not be shocked at all. If he's got the stamina, he looked really beat up after Florida. I think the sands of Florida really took it out of him. But if he's strong today and he's got the fitness to go the distance, we could see him up in the mix for a podium for sure.
Yeah, you take a look at the top 3 breakdown right now. It's Bryson Neal, Wyatt Wilkin, and John Glotta Jr. 60 points, perfect score so far for Bryson Neal. 43 and 41 points, the difference between second and third. So John Glotta Jr. sitting on a 5-2, Wyatt Wilkin a 2-4 so far this season. This is one of those things where we talk about it's round 3. We even mentioned it in our opener, Johnny. This is a pivotal moment for the season because at this point, we're no longer getting the season started. Now it's time to start saying that you're a championship threat. So for somebody like a Hunter Hart, a Josh Merritt, it has got to go time. Meanwhile, Wyatt Wilkin knows how important it is to stay in this fight, and I believe that is Brandon Owens. You might have called something there, Johnny.
It is. He's looking good. He's looking confident. He seems very, very comfortable just sitting back there in that number 3 spot. And Bryson Neal obviously is not waiting around for anyone. He's making dust. Wyatt Wilkin just charging through that dust, even with limited visibility. But you can tell by the pace. Josh Merritt was able to get around a couple riders and get into 4th, and he has not yet made any ground towards that top 3. So I don't think they're playing the waiting game today. Sometimes we kind of see these guys wait things out, let the track ride itself in. But I think right now Bryson Neal sees an opportunity. He knows it's Wyatt Wilkin behind him. He knows he's one of the closest riders in points, being there sitting in that number 2 spot, and I think he wants to make some moves here early.
No time to wait now. We welcome Jackson Burrow back in here to the booth after those starts, some wild starts in a couple of those classes, Jackson, but just like Johnny said, the intensity immediate here at Talladega.
Yeah, no doubt about it, and I can't help to go back to what Johnny was just saying about Brandon Owens. We talked about it already this season, how fast he is in these tight sections. Johnny, for our youth podiums there, that's all they could talk about was how tight this was. And a lot of them mentioning that it reminds them of some of their local races. That could play into Brandon Owens today.
Well, I got to tell you, years ago, and maybe not that many years ago, but probably pre-COVID, around the 2019, 2020 era, somewhere in there, I remember going to racing some OXCR races in Southern Ohio, and there was this kid on a hybrid 250 that was absolutely ripping. I mean, he would push Bryson Neal around for 30 minutes of the race. And, you know, when it came right down to it, I found out it's this young 13, 14-year-old kid, Brandon Owens, and he was riding the Youth All-Stars classes, which they call it now. Back then it was the schoolboy class. And, man, he was just absolutely ripping. I couldn't believe it. And to see him come up through the ranks over these years, through the A class, through that XC2 class, you know, he's always had the speed, but getting together with that Sturdivant Power Sports Racing team, he's really kind of gotten more consistent and confident, and he's seeming to become pretty much a podium or a top 5 contender week in and week out.
Yeah, Brandon Owens, he's been stacking blocks for quite a while, and like he said, wasn't quite looking the best after round 2. We knew it took a lot out of him, and we were actually able to catch up with the number 15 of Brandon Owens. Talk to him a little bit about round number 2.
So I started last year, had my first full season, and we're just kind of bouncing around and trying to figure out the class, and kind of knew where we were, kind of on the line, and put in a good off season, knew where we should be. Was shooting for a top 5, ended up putting myself in a podium position there towards the end of the race, and made a couple of mistakes. But yeah, we're very happy with where we started that there. And then Wild Boar, we had a little bit of a up and down day, so yeah, we're ready. This is actually like my favorite race on the circuit now, because back home where all my local series and stuff are super tight, so being here, it's very home-ish, if that makes sense. And I'm from West Virginia, so it doesn't make sense, but at the same time, it's just the layout and the super tightness, and it's got the fast fields. It's a good mix of everything.
Well, boys, that's actually the first time I've heard that, and I think we hit the nail right on the head with it. Saying it feels like home, and I'm sure as he gets out on the trails, it's even feeling a little bit more like it.
Yeah, I mean, where he's from West Virginia, but a lot of the races that he runs, I mean, there used to be that Kuntz Series, there's the Mountain State Series, and there's the OXCRs, the JXCs, all around that area, and it's got very thick undergrowth. The trees are close together. The tracks have been ridden a lot, so they get chewed up. So I think even the second year here, this will probably even be more comfortable for him. And sometimes, you know, guys, we've talked about this. If a rider comes in with that kind of feeling of comfort, at home, a little bit extra confidence, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you come into a race, you know, I won't speak for Brandon, but I don't think he was very high on his confidence level going into Florida, even though he did get to spend some time down there. He knows there's so many, air quotes, sand specialists that train down there all winter for years. So obviously not the performance he was looking for there. But, hey, it's 7 days later, and he's got a chance to redeem himself.
Yeah, 1 week away, but a completely different story here in Talladega as Bryson Neal gets ready to take it across the stripe here for lap number 1. It is still Wyatt Wilkin right on his heels, and Brandon Owens tagging along as well. So 1, 2, and 3, the 1, 5, and 15, as now looks like Josh Merritt going to be the next one across the stripe. We pick back up with our Yamaha Racing live drone. And yeah, you said it there, Johnny. It's one of those things. He even said it doesn't make a lot of sense, West Virginia versus Alabama, but it's the feel, right? We hear that so much, whether it's wearing the right kind of gear, wearing the right kind of, or getting the bike feeling good, even if it's not a normal setting that you normally do. Feel is a big name of the game. Feel equals comfort here in GNCC.
Yeah, and I think he's obviously feeling very, very strong today. And I know this is silly because we're talking fractions of a second, but a lot of times you can tell in the gaps between riders. After one lap, 2.3 seconds back for Wyatt Wilkin, just a few bike lengths. But the fact that Brandon Owens only 1 second behind Wyatt, what that tells me, Brandon's chomping at the bit. He wants to try to get around Wyatt, or at least really stay glued to Wyatt. He's not content just to ride back there in that number 3 spot, even though he is in a podium position. I think he wants more. He's feeling himself, and I think we might see some big things out of the number 15 of Brandon Owens here early in this one.
Would not be surprised to see it, as he is clearly peeking left, peeking right, trying to find a way around the number 5. Meanwhile, Jackson, Wyatt Wilkin coming off of 4th place there in round 2, just off of the podium, still 2nd in points. This is a big weekend for Wyatt as well, really wanting to cement himself as a title contender and as a worthy adversary, if you will, of Bryson Neal that can bring the fight to the number 1.
Yeah, I don't think we're going out on a limb by saying that. He wasn't quite happy with not getting up on the podium, you know, like you're saying, Zach. He wants to be the guy, and he's proved to us before that he can do just that, and I think he's proved to himself that he can do just that, so he's wanting more, no doubt.
Well, on top of that, I think we were able to catch up with the number 5 of Wyatt Wilkin earlier this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a good season so far. Like you said, second of the first round was really, really cool to start off, and then obviously I wanted to be on the podium at Florida, but that race is a different animal. I don't make excuses. I don't know what happened. I hit a wall and I was beat. I didn't have a whole lot of energy left there, and it is what it is. Come on with the 4th. Bitter. I mean, it was all right. Obviously, like I said, I wanted a podium, but a 4th place, if it's a bad day, we can work with it. Here, did not have a very good race last year. I ended up 7th, and that's nowhere near where I want to be. So another podium here would be really cool. If I could somehow pull a win out here, would be awesome. I feel like the track's going to be really similar, to be honest. I figured it being the second year here, it would kind of widen out and multiple lines. But the woods here is so thick that it's hard to make new lines unless they literally went back through and cut a second track. So I think it's going to be very single line, very what you get on the start is kind of be where you're going to be at the whole time. Maybe a little bit of shuffling, but if you get a bad start, man, it's going to be hard to get to the front. Like I said, it's really single lined, but it's sick being here. Like Talladega Speedway, literally one little hill over, and then we got the dirt car racing tonight, and I don't know, it's just cool to be something this big, and we race four-wheelers and be at something that everybody knows NASCAR facility is really cool.
Well, you can appreciate being here at the Speedway, no doubt. Johnny, go ahead, sorry.
No, but I want to point something out. You know, if you go back to round 1, 2025, Wyatt Wilkin coming out with a big DNF, didn't score any points. So he talks about being a little disappointed, you know, take it if it's a fourth. Look where he's sitting in the points. I mean, he is in the thick of this championship battle, and that kind of changes your mindset coming into these races. I think we're going to see a lot of fight out of him. Not that we don't always, but you could just tell in that interview, this is a guy, he's thinking the long battle this season. He wants to go for a title, and he's in a good position to do it.
Lots of battles, but this man wants the war as it is officially off and rolling, the third battle of the season. We're at Talladega, baby. The bar banging action. Look at that. They're coming up over the fence out here at Talladega. This is what it takes. It takes everything you got and then some to be able to grab a win. Unless you're this guy, then it takes just enough for a triple lock-in. Bryson Neal trying to make it 3 for 3 so far in 2026, but he's got Wyatt Wilkin and Brandon Owens breathing down his neck. Only a few seconds back with one lap in the books. The question is, can they maintain the pace? Can they bring the fight? We're going to find out when we're back with more Talladega Racing here on Racer TV.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda tires, delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles: automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
Family values and a homegrown work ethic, Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the beautiful Talladega Super Speedway. Good to hear our buddy Mikey Wayne's on there. I know Mikey's out there watching. We miss you, buddy. Welcome to Talladega, everybody. We're back. Man, look at this facility we got here, Zach.
It's absolutely incredible. If you guys really pay close attention, you can see Jackson and I sitting in two of those seats in that overhead shot. You really got to squint, though. But all kidding aside, Jackson, it's incredible. Not just the racetrack itself, 2.66 miles of pure speed here at Talladega. We had the Outlaw race last night. We have the incredible facility that we're able to race on here at GNCC. And even, this is pretty beautiful to me as well, Jackson, the beautiful Alabama woods, the Talladega Raceway, and we heard last year how refreshing it was to be able to come somewhere new, to be cutting some new trail. Here, year number 2, still a lot of new on the course as well, developing from year number 1. And Johnny, you can talk about that from a racer's perspective as, oh, look at this, that is not what you want to see. It is always refreshing as a rider. Looking mighty refreshed right now, Bryson Neal, to be able to come into a place like this and continue to watch it grow with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and when you look at the course here, I mean, obviously we can see some tire tread laid down on it. It's starting to chew up a little bit, but I would call this prime conditions. I mean, it's definitely not rough. We're going to see some roots popping up throughout this one. We've already had our morning race, and you can see these top 3 now really starting to stretch it out. Josh Merritt was about 12 seconds behind at the completion of lap number 1, looking like he's still not made any inroads to making that up. But you can see they're just carrying so much speed. It's not often that you get to see trails that look like they are in this good of a shape, and that's just to what you said to your point there. I mean, great dirt here, year number 2. This facility kind of really coming into its own, and it's providing some amazing racing action on track.
No doubt about it, man. Tough for the number 3 right now, sitting in no man's land. He's in 4th place, which is a good position, but he's a bit further back from that top 3. Can't quite feed off of them, and he's a good amount in front of Stephen Harrell as well as Jay Shadron. So we'll see if the number 3 can wick it up, maybe reel in the number 15.
Guys, missing from the front pack. As we were going to break there, I took a look. I was kind of running down through the top 20, trying to find some of our overall amateur riders. What I found way back in 35th overall position, Hunter Hart, sitting there, and I made a text out to his mechanic, Mark Notman, to see what had happened. He actually folded his brake pedal underneath the frame. Sounds like they had to stop and, you know, bend that back out. Don't know if they were able to get it repaired to where it's usable, but the biggest thing is when it's under the frame, it locks up the rear brakes. So the only way to try to get it out is either bend it out or just ride it until the brakes get so hot they go away. So it's quite a weird situation, but he is way back and out of the fight on this one right now. But this is really where the rubber meets the road. Sitting back in that number 35 spot, he's got to make it up into the top 20 to score points if he wants to keep himself in the thick of this championship battle. So we'll keep an eye on Hart today. Again, you don't see him in our top 20 running order. For those of you watching at home, that is the update. Now we see some of our XC2 riders coming through. That is the 192 of Danik Paquin. He has gotten around Elijah Edmondson. So you see in your running order there, we have Elijah in 7th place overall. Now it's Paquin. So those XC2 guys are on the gas and well up inside the top 10 overall. Here comes the 223 of Braxton Gross. That is 3rd in your XC2 class, rider that won here a year ago. And man, these guys are on the gas, starting to really make up ground to get ever so closer to the XC1 guys in front of them.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily the best news for the rest of the XC2 class, because we know Edmondson, Paquin, and Gross have intense speed, and they're starting to reel in the tail into XC1. We see this on the bike side of things. Being able to just feed off of those XC1 riders, it's almost like a little hidden motivator. It's like a treat that they're chasing after, and man, they are putting the pressure on at the front of the field. So are these guys, though. Honestly, Johnny, we're not seeing a lot of time change between Wyatt Wilkin and Bryson Neal. Gotta wonder, we always do, what the intensity level's looking like for Bryson, how comfortable he is right now, but I don't know. He definitely is hearing Wilkin and Owens right behind him and knows they're not going away.
Well, I tell you what we've seen through the first 2 rounds, and we saw so often last year, as we see Josh Merritt coming through now in that number 4 spot, still about that same gap back, maybe giving up a few seconds, but it seems like Bryson Neal just rides his own race and lets when he's out front, lets the other guys kind of fall off on their own. We never see him, I shouldn't say never, we rarely see him put in like a big charge to break these guys. It's just kind of like he just ratchets up the pace a little until they fall off. And through the first 2 rounds, it's worked very well for him. We saw him with heavy pressure from Wyatt Wilkin. Wilkin was actually closing up the gap at round number 1. And then at round number 2, Hunter Hart was all over him early on in the race, putting pressure, looking like he wanted to make the pass. And then Bryson just kind of rides away. So now we're well into lap number 2, and he's still got company behind him. Not just 1, but 2 riders. Will the strategy change for Bryson Neal? Does he just keep doing business as usual, or does he pick up the pace and try to break these guys? We're going to find out.
Yeah, I think that's going to be answered over this next lap. It looked to me like he had a lot of intensity coming through this mile 5 mark, as now we see Glotta making his way through. So we'll see. Can Bryson Neal break away, or could today be the day that we see some company up at the front of the field?
Well, and don't get me wrong, I think Bryson Neal, as we see Adam McGill on screen right now, has a ton of respect for all of his competitors. But we even saw last year when Walker Fowler showed up, it was like there was a different level of seriousness. He knew Walker Fowler was able to bring the fight, able to go the distance, and it needed to be the best Bryson Neal to get this win. I think what he's starting to realize now is names like John Glotta Jr., Josh Merritt, Wyatt Wilkin, and Brandon Owens right now are continuing to close that gap up where it's getting harder and harder to grab wins, let alone truly decimate the field, if you will. So Neal right now knows, hey, the rest of the field is sharpening up, and that number 1 is a big target on your back.
Absolutely, and it's seemingly now just the last couple camera shots. I think it's a few more bike lengths and a few more bike lengths. So Wyatt Wilkin kind of needs to regroup here and really go after Bryson Neal and not let him get away. But Brandon Owens, man, he just looks so comfy back there in that number 3 spot. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see him try to make a move here in these coming corners, see if he can get himself to the number 2 spot, chase down his fellow local racer. They're actually all these guys kind of from the same area. Wyatt doesn't run quite as many OXCR races, but Brandon Owens is very familiar with that big number 1 out front. He's been looking at it for years.
Man, great shot from our Yamaha Racing live drone, Jackson. And you got to wonder if the battle between Wilkins and Owens isn't helping Neal a little bit in this situation as well, because I don't think Wyatt necessarily wants to give the number 2 spot away.
Yeah, no doubt. Whatever it is right now, we're seeing Neal starting to put a little bit of time between himself and the rest of the pack. This could be it. We saw it's going to be, said it just a second ago, it's going to be on this lap, and I think it's happening, boys.
And there is Harrell now in the number 5 spot. So Merritt, while he's not able to kind of match the pace of the 3 in front of him, losing a little bit of time, he's opened up an even bigger gap over the riders behind him. You know, looking at the situation that Wyatt Wilkin is in there in that number 2 spot, Bryson Neal just starting to inch away a little bit. You've got kind of 2 options there. You can, it's not a choice, but if you get mentally frustrated, you can start to tighten up, make the mistakes, and you're doing everything, and this guy's just inching away from you. But also, Wyatt is getting into kind of the prime of his career where he's got that racecraft to know they are going to start catching lapped riders here soon. That could work very much to his advantage. If he's able to keep Bryson Neal in sight, even if he can't stay right on the rear wheels, you know, he may get the advantage of Bryson being in the point position and having to kind of make those lapped riders aware that they're coming through. He might be able to catch right back up.
So on the charge as we tune back into that front 3, Neal, Wilkins, and Owen here at the 7-mile mark.
We mentioned Walker Fowler there, our second here at Talladega for the first race here at Talladega in 2025, as we see Neal now popping back onto our screen. For anybody that's just now joining us for the 2026 season, Fowler, the most winning GNCC rider of all time, not able to line up here this season due to injury. Hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll have Walker here to the Racer TV booth. I know he's itching to get in here. I know he's itching to be out on the track, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's taken to his social media to say some things that he wants to get back to the racetrack as soon as he can. With the injury sustained, very similar to the injury he sustained before the 2023 season, just traveling in a truck for 8 hours. He is in a back brace from those that broken back that he sustained, but he already said, I'd really like to try to make it to Camp Coker if I can, and then possibly once we get back north, it'll be a little closer to home when he relocates, and we'll look forward. He did a great job in the Racer TV booth with us a few years ago, so it'd be, when I say great to have him back, we'd rather have him out on the racetrack, but it gives him an opportunity to kind of come in, give us a unique perspective from someone who's done it at a very, very high level for a very long time.
The highest level. But for now, we miss you, Walker. I know you're watching out there, but for now, we are watching here on our Yamaha Racing live drone as our front runners make their way through. Now, going to pan back just a little bit to our mile 7 marker at what I think is Stephen Harrell.
Yep, that is Harrell, fresh off a podium from the sands of Florida, his first ever podium. And we saw the raw emotion when he crossed the finish line. Not a rider that is usually very emotional, but that is a huge milestone in his career. That being our team behind him and Fearless, they put so much effort into that young man, and he really paid them off in a big way with that performance. Speaking of GNCC podiums at round number 2, here's the man who crossed the line in second, John Glotta. Not the start he was looking for today, but we've seen him make 3 or 4 passes already, and he's now, look at how much he's gapped the riders behind him, appearing to have the pace, but just needing a little bit better track position early on to get in this fight, but there's still a lot of racing action left. Then it is Adam McGill there, the Gator, sitting back in. We're showing him on screen in that number 11 spot overall. I think these top XC1 guys, looking at the pace they're riding, I think we're going to see them displace those XC2 guys back to maybe a little further back in the top 10. We might see McGill, Glotta, move up a couple spots in the overall. But here comes Chris Borch on that number 9 machine. Then it's first race with us this year, Jared McClure. And then there is Grayson Eller on that 171, hanging tough today. A rider that we know performed very well in that XC2 class. It's been a big transition for him going to the front row, but we saw a good performance for him. Look at this. Speaking of XC2, Danik Paquin starting to march away from it now. He's gotten around Edmondson, and look at the gap he's opened up. The last camera shot, Edmondson was all over him, and now look at this. A rider out of Canada showing incredible pace here.
And here, Danik Paquin.
There goes Edmondson now, Zach.
Elijah Edmondson, and then it looks like that's Gross starting to close in on the number 2 spot as well there for the XC2 class.
Yeah, so that is your top 3 through there in XC2. And, man, I'm really impressed with Paquin. You know, a rider, we kind of thought he was a sand specialist coming out of Canada, has done very well in the sands of Florida the last few years. But now he's showing just exactly what he's capable of in the dirt, not only in a podium position, but out front and starting to march away with this one.
Yeah, Paquin, like you said, he made that move, and then it looks like he clicked in extra gear as he's starting to stretch things out. And like we said, won't be long before they're going to be caught up in that battle between Eller, Borch, and McClure as well, so that could help continue the pace.
That's the 1, 2, 3 of Keys, and then also Lane McCormick just behind him, rider who finished second at round number 1. So we know he's got the pace, not the Florida performance he was looking for, but again, not a rider that has the opportunity to spend the time down in Florida in the sand. But he is putting it through its paces here today, and he's marching his way ever so closer to a podium position.
All right, so once again, our XC2 class now going to be Paquin leading the way on the 192 machine. Edmondson in the number 2 spot. Gross going to be holding on to the 3rd place position, and then it is Keys that is in that 4th place spot. Johnny, was that Likens making his way by? I do believe it was.
That was Likens, and then here comes Talon Stout. Man, it's just one of those things where, oh, no, that was actually Likens there. I think that might have been, that was Jeremiah Wolf that came through. So there's Likens, and there is Keaton Henderson. So, man, all these guys, it's a bunch of young, hungry riders in that XC2 class. They all push the pace. And I tell you what, you never have to worry about excitement out of that class. They don't just, a lot of times the XC1 guys, you know, there's good battles going on, but it's kind of follow the leader. They all slot into place. That XC2 class, it's like there's life on the line in every corner, and they're going for it. Here comes now the 928 of James Glauda, younger brother of John Glauda Jr., had a 4th place performance in Florida in that XC2 class just a week ago. So he's running a little further back than he'd like, but did not have a good start at all. And then here comes the 27 of Kenny Schick, working his way through the tight trees of Talladega in search of trying to battle inside the top 10 in that XC2 Pro-Am class.
Yeah, I'm going to be keeping my eyes on the 712 machine of John Glauda Jr. We saw a ton of speed and saw that sense of accomplishment and almost the sigh of relief, if you will, after getting that podium in Florida. Didn't get the start that he was hoping for, so now we want to see what he's able to do. Can he maneuver his way forward, make some passes happen? He's picked up maybe 2 or 3 spots already, but he's got to close that gap up. Jay Shadron and Stephen Harrell relatively close, and then we know it's a rather big gap up to Josh Merritt, so he's got his work cut out for him. Meanwhile, Josh Merritt, this was exactly what he needed, getting a solid top 5 position early. He needs to try to start closing that gap up because Neil Wilkins and Owen not looking to slow down at all, kind of in their own freight train up front.
Yeah, impressed with Jay Shadron. Definitely didn't have the ride he was looking for, I think, at Florida, a rider that spends the winter down there. Was expecting him, honestly, to be a threat for a podium, maybe just not feeling it that day. Didn't really have an opportunity to speak with him. The race just didn't go his way, but to see him up there sitting in that number 6 spot right now and in sight of 5th in front of him, and obviously Josh Merritt and the podium not too far ahead of him. It is starting to stretch out, though, and John Glauda, as well as it looks like he's riding, he's just really not quite making up a whole lot of ground on Harrell and Shadron. So if he wants to get himself up into a mix for a top 5, gonna have to get going. Next rider through should be Adam McGill, and there he is. Man, visor gone. We see the bullet head look out of McGill about 80% of the time on screen. Don't know if it's just one of those things making contact with the tree. Where he's running, kind of doubt he's had a crash at this point, but some of those manufacturers, I believe he runs the Liat helmet. They run a magnetic visor, which for GNCC has just kind of always baffled me. Alpine Star is another company that does that. You know, you see these riders so often without a visor. They come in contact with anything that flies off. Understandably, they do that for safety. Yep. Some of the other companies opt for like a breakaway screw setup that just breaks very easily, but the magnets for GNCC, you can even just get roosted hard, and that visor just goes a-flying.
No doubt about it, as we've got our top 3 on screen right now. The Yamaha Racing live drone showing Bryson Neal putting the Phoenix Racing Yamaha power to the ground. Wyatt Wilkin and Brandon Owens keeping him in eyesight. And just like you said, Johnny, got to think this is exactly where they need to be. Lap riders going to start to get into this. We heard from Wilkins earlier. There are tight spots where it's going to limit your ability to get around. Wrong time, wrong place for a lap rider. That entire gap could evaporate.
Well, speaking of the gap there, you know, it looked to me like Wyatt Wilkin had actually made up a few bike lengths, which is encouraging for him. But this just goes to show, if you missed the toe, Josh Merritt was just outside of that top 5 off the start, had to make a few passes. By the time he got around Jared McClure and a few other riders, there was just that little gap to the leaders. You know, looked like it was maybe 5-8 seconds. It was 12 seconds at the completion of lap number 1. Now looking like it's more like about 30 seconds. So losing that toe can be very costly early on in the race. He really needs to find a pace if he wants to get himself up into position to try to battle for a podium, because that lead trio is just kind of marching away. And Wyatt Wilkin, again, looking like he's stabilized things, looking pretty comfy there. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him start putting some pressure on the big number 1 of the Bidwell Bullet. There's Harrell there in the number 5 spot. Jay Shadron in 6th, and those two still very close together. Shadron looking like he might be the aggressor in this one. He looks really smooth, and he looks like he's closing up the gap a little bit to Harrell.
Well, and I was just about to say, both of them throwing it slideways through that corner, but it seems like Shadron, smooth is fast out here. We see that a lot. Even John Glada in that last shot, it looked like he was kind of bouncing around fighting that machine. And so Jay really looking smooth right now. And then, of course, he's got those headlights flashing, the Shadron signature, if you will. The whole family running the headlights here this weekend. And we were actually able to talk to Jay a little bit, not only about his riding, but about those signature headlights as well.
Headlights is something my dad did when he raced years ago. I guess my mom made them, and we just thought it was cool. It was an easy way to pick them out, and just always did it. And I kind of took it over whenever he quit racing. And ever since then, it's just been, I guess, my signature thing. You know, we got the shirts and all that stuff now. And I don't know if everybody noticed, like I'm starting to change colors with them now to match the bikes. It was always blue. They're always blue. And I did a bike last year that was red, and now we're doing green. So each year I'm going to keep changing with the scheme of the bike.
So what, it was green this weekend?
Yeah, green this weekend, and that is true. I mean, I remember his dad, Denny, racing years ago, and you know, he was racing the senior class, and he would have those headlights. And it's funny because all of the ATVs, whether, you know, regardless of brand, they come with headlights stock. All the sport quads do, and the utilities as well. And everybody just takes them off, saves weight, don't really need that. And Denny's seeing an opportunity for his wife to be able to pick him out when he was coming in for his pit stop. A lot of the riders, especially when you're covered in mud, you know, they kind of look the same, but you always can see the headlights shining, even if they're covered in mud. So he's carried that through. His wife, Sierra Shadron, racing this morning, and I believe grabbing a win in our women amateur class. And, you know, she's also got the headlights going, so it's their signature thing. It's pretty cool. Easy to pick those guys out, guys and gals, out on the track because of that.
Love it. The Shadron special is, that might be Gross we're watching on screen. Another rider looking incredibly aggressive and smooth right through that section, at least. We know Braxton coming off of a win down there in Florida. And, man, he just seems like he's a happy guy to be around right now. Just seems like things are working his way, and got some good momentum coming into Talladega.
Did you catch the fact he went out and raced the 3-hour dirt bike race on Sunday as well?
You know, it's funny. I thought I heard somebody say that, but I didn't see him out there. But that, I mean, that ought to just tell you what you need to know right there alone.
Yeah. So,
5 hours of racing in a weekend.
Bryson Neal coming across the finish line here now for 2 laps complete, talking about how it was a torture chamber. Braxton Gross out of that XC2 class grabs the win, I believe 6th or 7th place overall, and then says, you know what, I'm going to go out and do another 3 hours tomorrow on the dirt bike. The kid is motivated. He's obviously very fit, and he had a pretty solid top 10 finish. I think he ended up 7th or 8th in that Open A class. Did pretty well there, and man, it was just pretty impressive. I did ask him, I said after the fact, were you glad you did it? He said, honestly, it was really fun. He said the last lap I could have done without. I was done by then. I was kind of cashed out, and I was ready to be done, but we got to regroup and get ready to go racing again 6 days later.
Yep. Yeah, that's a bold move there, Cotton. He might have been looking over his shoulder, waiting for Ben Kelly, like, hey, put me a lap down. It's okay. But no, it's an impressive ride, like you said, not only on just to compete in the two-wheel side of things, but 2 top 10 overall so far for Braxton Gross, and 9th and 6th overall. So really been a good year for him as Josh Merritt gets ready to put another lap in the books. We'll try to see whether or not things are going his way as far as closing that gap up. And then after that, it should be Stephen Harrell on the 908 coming up next.
So, yeah, that gap back to Josh Merritt has grown 48 seconds. So he lost 36 seconds on that lap, and that just goes to show, you know, it can be so hard to match the pace if you can't see the riders in front of you. Even if you're not right on them, you know, if you can kind of see and you gauge, you know, sure, he's riding flat out right now, but he's just not able to match that pace. And now we see Harrell checking in the number 5 spot with Jay Shadron right still behind him there in that number 6 spot. And the gap back 35 seconds back from Merritt to Harrell, and then just another 4 seconds back to Jay Shadron running in that number 6 spot overall. We'll keep an eye open for our XC2 leaders. Danik Paquin putting on one heck of a charge there. Will we see him stay well up within the top 10 overall? They should be coming here soon. And look at this, John Glada Jr. slideways. You missed an opportunity there, Zach. Man, he is one of the best at that. Big, tall, lanky guy, and he just loves to throw that machine around. Coming across the line in 7th, and he is 23 seconds behind Jay Shadron. Flash ahead forward here to the pro pits, and it's still the same running order, top 3. Look at this. This is interesting. Don't see this often. Yeah, so they decided that they wanted to fuel him. He was not prepared to fuel. He wanted to stay with the leaders. I got to be honest with you. Very questionable choice there on behalf of his crew. I would not have done that, but hey, that's maybe they have a strategy there. It's going to be very difficult. Now, if it can pay off, if he's able to catch back up, then he has the advantage of being able to make the pass, but it's going to be very difficult for him to run that pace, not running with Wyatt Wilkin and Bryson Neal. So that's kind of a hero or zero move there. If he's able to catch back up, man, he's going to be high-fiving those guys after the race saying, you won me the race. If he loses a toe and falls off, I would be having a long talk with my pit crew after that one, because he was in the mix, and maybe he'll be able to ride himself back up there, but we'll find out here soon enough.
Yeah, it won't be the first time we could see pit strategy grab a win here at Talladega. And like I said, I'm more impressed by the double slide 180.
Yeah, that was impressive, man. That was smooth as butter. Throwing that machine back around and quick pit stop for him. So, yeah, but like Johnny's saying, if it don't work out, that's definitely going to be a long ride home here from Dega.
Yeah, that's, like I said, I mean, every racer is different, and maybe Brandon has communicated to them that if they have the opportunity to help him make a pass in the pits by pitting off sequence, he would like to do that. So we don't know the conversations that have gone on.
Yeah, for all we know, he wanted to do that, and he said, why don't you have my gas jug out?
Yep.
Man, what a race so far, Zach.
Yeah, Stephen Harrell going to follow in suit as well, getting refueled, but no doubt about it, things are getting dicey now as strategy starting to come into play. Bryson Neal's strategy, pretty simple. Get out front, stay out front, add another win to the tally. Wyatt Wilkin now solo, not under any pressure from Brandon Owens after that pit stop, so maybe Wilkins could go back on the attack, now only having to focus forward, trying to chase down Bryson Neal. Going to be interesting to see. Meanwhile, Stephen Harrell also still up inside that top 5. How is John Glada Jr. going to be able to climb his way forward? How about Danik Paquin and the XC2 class starting to march their way into the XC1 field as well? It's Dega, baby. Anything possible. Watch this. One spin. Hang on, I'm not done yet. One more. There we go. He's refueled. He's fired up. And so are we. We're going to be back with more GNCC racing here on Racer TV.
Hey race fans! Gear Bicycles is on hand today with the all-new Gen 4 Specialized Levo. They also have great deals on Gen 3 Levos and used bikes. Stop by their booth and see for yourself how fun it could be riding around these GNCC hills. Gear Bicycles is sponsored by Progressive. When you stop by their booth, you can find out why it's important to insure your e-bike, dirt bike, ATV, or RV. Once again, thanks for being here today, and enjoy your day.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 laps, the main event, the month of blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
community, family, teamwork. It's what we have stood on for over a decade. Hauling might be what we do at the surface, but it's much deeper than that, because what you need matters. When you need a haul, give us a call at 724-852-4488. For 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, we at JD Enterprises are prepared to serve you.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back here to the fields of the Talladega Super Speedway, brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Round number 3 of 13 taking place here at Talladega, Alabama, and back to the racing action we go. We're going to see, is Brandon Owens' pit strategy going to play off here in this one?
Well, we see on camera there some of our XC2 riders coming through. That was early race leader Elijah Edmondson on that 247 machine. As we look and see those riders just having checked in, looks like he has slipped back now, and he is back in, let's see, Dalton Keys has gotten around him, Lane McCormick has gotten around him, and Braxton Gross. So he slipped from that 2 position back to 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place in that XC2 Pro-Am class. Lane McCormick on a charge there, now up to the number 3 spot. He has gotten around Dalton Keys and Elijah Edmondson. Jeremiah Wolf lurking back there as well. So, man, what a mix-up in that XC2 class, as we have, looks like, 9 of those guys inside the top 20 overall. So they are on a charge here today, but on a charge and out front, the Bidwell Bullet, the number 1. Look at this, Jackson. Now he has opened up a gap. This is the biggest gap we have seen so far here today. When we looked and we saw those riders coming through pro pits, Wyatt Wilkin, this rider right here on the number 5, was still basically on the rear wheels of Neal. So Neal has been able to open up that gap. Let's see how far we have to wait until we see the number 15 of Brandon Owens, who has already pitted. So if he's able to make up the gap, he might be able to make the pass, but so far it looks like he has lost too much time with that pit stop. He is on a charge, though, and he still has about another 8 miles of racetrack before this lap is complete. He is looking good. Well, look at that, jumping up out of that ravine there. We can see it looks like Dave Childers there out in the woods, and he's trying to stay out of our camera shot. So don't know if we didn't have our clock there as we were doing that to know exactly what the gap was back to Wilkin and Owens. We'll see if we can get on our next camera shot, see if we can get exactly what those gaps are opening up to.
Well, one thing we know for sure here at the Racer TV mile number 3 marker, things have changed big time since when we checked in there at the finish. Bryson Neal was only 3.6 seconds ahead of Wyatt Wilkin, with only 2.4 seconds, 2.5 you could say, back to Brandon Owens. As we see Josh Merritt now on screen. Merritt, like we said, was 48.7 seconds behind last time we saw. He's definitely going to be closer now to Brandon Owens at the finish.
Yeah, so looking like with Owens having made that stop, he's going to give up a little bit of time, but he will reap the advantage in one more lap when those riders come through, because we saw that Josh Merritt did not pit. We know that Wyatt Wilkin and also Bryson Neal did not pit. We are being told about 33 seconds back is Brandon Owens. So when you take into account the fact that a pit stop should only take about 9 to 10 seconds, granted, we saw some little spinny maneuvers, looking like he was Brandon Owens on ice there, doing some triple axles. But look at this. Now, it looks like Jay Shadron has gotten around Stephen Harrell, so now up into the number 5 spot. Jay Shadron and those headlights are on a charge.
Don't forget Harrell made that pit stop as well.
There you go.
Right as we were going to commercial break. So there he is, right on cue.
Harrell. Now that, you can see Stephen Harrell still very much in that mix, even though he did make the pit. But Brandon Owens, that extended pit stop with all the spinning around and whatever pace he's had since then, we are being told by OPAGR producer Adam Gordon 33 seconds back, meaning he gave up about another 20 seconds after that pit. So we'll see how it all plays out. Here's John Glaude Jr. looking like he may have made up a little bit of time, possibly on Harrell, and also Jay Shadron, but still not close enough to mix it up with those guys as he tries to march his way towards the top 5. But look at this, Bryce Neal, that's charge mode out of that man right there. He's opening up a gap, and Wyatt Wilkin is going to need to pick up the pace, but he's still close. He can still see him in the distance, but right now he's just losing ground mile after mile.
And Johnny, this is exactly what you talked about earlier in the show with what we see from Bryson Neal, just slowly but surely making up that time, making up that gap.
Well, and on top of that, it's got to be so frustrating because I know these top pros, they go back and watch Racer TV. They study film just like any of your top sports athletes. And because of that, it's one of those things where, Johnny, I can't pinpoint one specific thing that Bryson's doing so much better than Wyatt. It's just a 0.5% here, a 1% there. It's just the intensity overall on everything. These are two of the best off-road ATV riders in the world, but for some reason, it's almost unseeable what it is Bryson's doing just a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's just precision for Bryson Neal. We rarely see the mistakes. Obviously, if we go back to Florida, we did see that front end pop out of the rut. He caught that tree, but it's just the calculated, calm, just hopped off the machine, no sense of urgency. You know, big, strong guy, throws the bike back into the track, hops on, and takes off. We rarely see the mistakes compound for Bryson Neal, where with so many of the other riders, it seems like one mistake leads to 4, leads to 14, leads to the day they're not looking for. Bryson Neal just manages the race so well. Josh Merritt on screen there in the number 4 spot, still a good ways behind Brandon Owens there, who's sitting in that final podium position in 3rd. So a strong ride again for Brandon Owens. Looking at the race time here, we're about an hour and 1 minute in. Don't know that we've heard the official call yet, but I think we may be looking at possibly a 4-lap race. It is a 5-lap race. Okay. So confirmed 5-lap race, meaning this race will go long. It will go over 2 hours by the time this one is said and done, which, you know, if you're trying to make moves late in this one, it bodes well for you. But if you're trying to protect the lead like Bryson Neal is right now, you're probably, you know, he wouldn't be mad about. We know this guy never gets tired.
Look at that.
But he wouldn't. Oh, getting really close to the guardrail.
No, he was looking back big time. I think he may have been drifting a little bit more than he realized. But yeah, Bryson Neal taking a big look over the shoulder, wanting to see exactly where Wyatt Wilkin was at.
Here he comes from our Yamaha Racing Live drone. Wilkin ringing out that Stewart Brothers Racing Yamaha YFZ 450 and slideways around this corner, getting himself to that inside line, trying to square it up and straighten it out. Owen's taking a look over now. He can see Wilkin going the other way. And this is a cool section of racetrack for these guys because they can really check their progress and see how much time they are gaining or losing. He can see there, you see right there, Wilkin saw Owens, Owens saw Wilkin, and that is the tail of the tape. Now, again, Brandon Owens has already pitted, so as we click off the mile markers, if he can get within, say, 9-10 seconds, give or take, of Wyatt Wilkin, he could potentially get right back to the rear wheels or maybe even in front of Wyatt Wilkin because Wyatt will have to pit this next lap of racing.
So here we go, zooming in on, I believe that's Brandon Owens we're watching on screen, getting out into some of that thick stuff, slicing back underneath. Good riding right now from the 15. We talk about how tough it is to maintain that pace. Wilkins still getting little teases of Bryson Neal from time to time to keep him charging forward, but meanwhile up on 2 wheels, that was almost Shadron style there for Josh Merritt as he makes his way through. Another glance back. Big thing we see here in GNCC, riders doing what they can to spot, especially in these open sections, just to try to get a gauge not only where but who, right? I think that matters as much as anything, Johnny. You know, some riders really strong late in the race, other riders you know, maybe able to put the fight on that last hour.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think we the biggest thing that surprised me so far in 2026 out of Brandon Owens was the fight we saw out of him on that last lap at Big Buck, a rider that has always shown phenomenal speed. There he is on screen in the number 3 spot, but perception-wise, maybe not as strong at the end of the races, but there we see Bryson Neal straightening out that line. OPAG was able to point that out earlier, asking why those guys weren't taking it. Looked like they were just so focused in on that tree and trying to square it up that they were just going ahead and going around. But Bryson Neal now finding that straight through line. See if Wyatt Wilkins sees it as well. No, he misses it. So that was another just few fractions of a second there for Bryson Neal as he straightened that out and just made it straight through. We see so much of this on Sunday with our motorcycle. Again, 25 feet either way of the marked trail, unless there's string or banners. Do have to stay inside the white pole corner markers. But now here comes our 3rd place rider of Brandon Owens, and looking like he might have made up a little bit of time there. We'll see if we can get a gap from OPAG, our producer Adam Gordon. I wasn't watching the race clock that time, so if we can get that, we'll know what the progress is here just a little past halfway through lap number 3.
So just to help the viewers at home here, that main line that we're talking about leads right over here. It's a bit of a curve. Got to slow down just a little bit. It's over on the right-hand side of your screen. Meanwhile, Bryson Neal straight through the middle, no problems. And that was one of those, I give OP some credit. He spotted that out. Yep. We weren't sure it was going to be wide enough to get a quad through there, but certainly impressive to watch.
Well, we tried with our teleprompter. Maybe we'll get that to work next time. But we obviously can see these lines developing throughout the race. And this is kind of what we spoke about early in when we were talking about our track preview. You know, this course, there's a lot of underbrush and a lot of kind of things that jams the riders up from being able to move around as much. Now we see Josh Merritt on that number 3 coming through. Again, also missing that inside line. So you can see just how rough that outside line is starting to get. So look, we are being told now 25 seconds the gap back to Brandon Owens. It was 33, so he's made up 8 seconds. Still not close enough to capitalize on a pit from Bryson Neal, but potentially getting close enough to capitalize on the pit from Wyatt Wilkin. So the call that was made by his team and him doing the flippy flop, it may pay off. We may see him right back in that battle, at least for the number 2 spot, if not even close to the lead. Jay Shadron now coming through in that number 5 spot, and he is now starting to open up the gap over Stephen Harrell, who did pit last lap, but it looks like Shadron, the benefactor there, because having the clear air, it looks like he's opened up that gap just a little bit more over Stephen Harrell.
There's Stephen Harrell making his way through the mile 7 marker right on time. And now going to flash forward. What do we have going on here on our Yamaha Racing Live drone? Brandon Owens. It looks like troubles for Owens.
Watching here from the drone. And
yep, looks like he made contact with the tree there. And so that's going to cost him a few seconds there. Look like one of our chase riders coming through there on a motorcycle as well. Now we see John Glauda Jr. coming through. Glauda up into that number 7 spot. McGill up into 8th place overall. Paquin, the leader out of that XC2 class, has dropped back to the number 9 spot in the overall, and then Braxton Gross rounding out the top 10, 20 seconds behind Paquin. So that's the tail of the tape in that XC2 class. Then when you get down to Lane McCormick in the 3rd place spot, 33.45 seconds behind. So about 53 seconds is the gap between 1st and 3rd in that XC2 class. We see, looks like
Sweeper Dan?
Yeah, I think it's Sweeper Dan coming by, waving at the camera there. Making sure the traffic is flowing, making sure everybody's okay and safe out there. Any broken down riders, any injured riders, they'll stop, check with them, radio, get them help out there, get them towed out, whatever it takes. So obviously a big shout out to our track crew. We don't always see them on camera, but they're out there doing the work all the time.
So Paquin and Gross, your top 2 in the XC2. Now going to have 20 seconds between them. I think it's safe to say Paquin said slingshot engaged.
Yeah, he absolutely.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake.
Oh, there we go. Let's just hope that nobody has to put out the invisible fire, because we don't need to have any mental breakdowns like Ricky Bobby.
Well, I mean, you know, Danny Paquin, he may be more of a
Jean Girard
fan. Yeah, he speaks primarily French, and so yeah, we never know what he's going to say up there on the podium. He's usually it's a good race.
Yeah,
I want to thank my sponsor.
Look at this.
Digging into that dirt right there. He was slamming into that.
That is a full push from Bryson Neal. He sees the opportunity to open up the gap over Wyatt Wilkin, and he is taking advantage of it. Some lap riders now coming into the mix. We look back, we wait, we watch, and still don't see the number 5. There is Wilkin coming. Lap rider getting out of the way. Wilkin working his way through the Yamaha Forest here and charging, but the gap is continuing to open up. 109.04 for Wilkin through here at the 9-mile marker. We know that obviously Brandon Owens just having a little miscue there. Wilkin's going to need about 10 seconds to safely pit and stay ahead. He's at 12, 13, 14, 15. So looking like, unless Brandon Owens able to put in a big push here, it's looking like Wilkin's safe in that number 2 spot.
Well, and it looked like we actually came to the shot as he was stuck, Jackson. So it might be even more time than we realized. As we saw him get back up. Looked like he was okay when he got back off and going hard on the throttle once again, but it's looking like as the clock continues to tick, 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 this is going to be a big setback. Still in that number 3 spot, so still holding on to a podium position, but the time keeps
we're at 40 seconds now, 43 seconds, so he is going to be falling back into the grasp of Josh Merritt, who was about was 48 seconds behind, and there we see Owens on screen now. So he is about nearing 1 minute behind Wyatt Wilkin in that number 3 spot, and looking like maybe that machine a little bit twisted up. So there is Owens in the number 3 spot. We'll look back and see where the number 3 of Josh Merritt is. Looks like he has lost more time as well. He was much closer. You know, if you think back in that previous camera shot, he was only about 20 seconds maybe behind Owens, so maybe something amiss with the number 3 as well. Here he is on screen, looking like he's about 30-ish seconds now behind Owens in that fight for the final podium position.
Yeah, and a bit of a strange body language there. Not seeing him stand up at all, not looking like he's attacking.
That was not the same body language that we saw from him just a little while ago, because I noticed with Josh Merritt, he really seems to be able to lock his legs in and move the rear end of that machine where he wants it to go, and that is no easy feat on one of these ATVs.
Yeah, now look at this. Shadron actually is the rider on the charge. When they checked in, he was looking back. It was Harrell who was 35 seconds behind Merritt, with Shadron another 3 seconds back. I'll tell you right now, Shadron is a lot closer than 35 seconds to Josh Merritt, so this may shape up to potentially be a three-rider battle over the final podium position. Here's your leader on screen, Bryson Neal.
Looked like Bryson there having to make his way around one of those lap riders, kind of blowing that berm out and having a little bit of trouble. You can still see the dust in the air from him. I'm going to hand back up, watch Bryson here for just a second. What I believe is Bryson.
I think that's...
No, that is Wilkin.
Yeah, that's Wyatt Wilkin there in the number 2 spot, just entering into this long field section that Bryson Neal is already exiting.
Man, I love the dual sides of Talladega here. We had this tight technical. You see him, just like you were talking about, Jackson, almost having a bunny hop and move the quad around, and then you got these wide open sections where it's just as fast as you can go. We know it gets those rough chatter bumps, both acceleration and from braking, and it really finds out who's the well-rounded rider out here.
Yeah, you sure do, man. And it's so fun to watch these pro ATV guys. I sit next to a pro like Johnny Gallagher. I try to keep my composure, but sometimes, man, you just have to sit back and say, wow, these guys are the best of the best.
In another life, a long, long time ago. Happy to be in here calling the action with you guys. It's a lot less physically strenuous. You know, we still obviously are putting in the work here, trying to make out what's happening on screen, add some insight for the viewers at home. But, man, I got to tell you, not having the dust in the eyes, not having to eat the roost, you know, not being sore on Monday morning. It's pretty nice being here in the booth. Don't have the benefit of the air conditioning, but we got a nice fan here on this nice warm day. There is Brandon Owens in the number 3 spot. Looking back, he is working his way around some lap traffic. You can see that rider taking a look back, and he says, man, I don't know who that is coming, but he's on the move. We're going to get out of the way. Owens still in pursuit of the top 2, but we saw that miscue from him there from our Yamaha Racing Live drone. Lost some time. Now about a minute back from the second place ride of Wilkin, and now here comes Merritt about another 30 seconds back, and he will not have the benefit of seeing Brandon Owens ahead of him there, so he's going to have to rely on pit boards, get some information to be able to find out just how close he is to Owens. But as of right now, starting to get much closer to being in striking distance, but better keep an eye in the rear view, because Jay Shadron, the headlights, he's on the move.
There he is, making his way through now.
On the charge, and really love watching the way these guys set up these big 180 corners here. We'll see what Shadron does. It seems like they're entering wide and then almost over-rotating the quad to cut back underneath on the downside. Looks like Shadron going to pretty much right up the center this time, but and you can see the lighter soil, Johnny, a bit lighter, fluffier, dusty, if you will. Meanwhile, out there on the outside, I believe the fluff is what you guys call it, really where you're able to dig those tires in and get some traction.
Yeah, sometimes on that hard packed clay, you know, it can be hard to get grip. You kind of try to get out to the edges, run the fluff, the cushion, as they call it in sprint car racing. You know, just the World of Outlaws was just a scant mile or so from here last night, and those guys, you know, a lot of times they'll set the car up to run that cushion. ATV guys not really setting up the machine specifically for that, but sometimes when you can't find the grip on the blue groove, you move over a little bit, and it just makes it that much easier to find that forward bite. Now we see John Glada. We did see Stephen Harrell come through there in the number 6 spot. He has been passed by Jay Shadron. Glada charging hard in every camera shot we see, but just not able to make up ground on the riders ahead of him just yet. But again, we will see only a, let's see, with 3 laps complete, 2 lap card waving when they come through, meaning still 2 more laps around this track. And I got to tell you guys, 5-lap race for this one. I think it's going to start to get rough because they're really starting to chew into the soil. We kind of had a crust on top from it being dry, but as they work their way down into that moisture, we're going to start seeing some braking bumps develop, a lot of roots coming up out of the ground, and this track is really going to start taking its toll.
And stuff like that blue groove, being familiar with red clay myself, it can be very slippery for the riders, but it can also catch you sometimes, have a little bit of traction in it, and throw you for a ride too. So these guys are going to have to be on top of it here at Talladega.
So continuing to watch on our Yamaha Racing Live drone. There we just saw Bryson Neal check in and check out of the scoring area. And there's the true north of GNCC. Ricky Towery with that 2-lap card in hand. And
man, this gap has definitely opened up now.
I was just about to say that clock keeps ticking as we saw Wyatt Wilkin jump into frame. Then we flash back, caught the gator, had a gator sighting there.
Well, I thought we were in Alabama.
25 seconds is the tail of the tape here after 3 laps complete. Wyatt Wilkin losing about 23 seconds or so on that lap. So Bryson Neal putting the hammer down. Wyatt Wilkin faltering just a little bit, but still in striking distance. 25 seconds, definitely not a bridge too far to cross, especially with lap traffic, still 2 laps remaining. We do know that when we last saw, Brandon Owens was about 1 minute behind Wyatt Wilkin, according to what we could see on our ticker across the top of the screen there. So we'll wait and watch and see how that develops, as well as Josh Merritt and Jay Shadron giving chase behind him in the number 4 and number 5 spots. But we see Brandon Owens definitely not close enough to benefit. Those guys are already in and out of the pits. We didn't, or working their way towards being, and again, with around about 10-second pit stops, this gap is just going to be too far for him to make up. He is coming through here, so didn't lose a whole bunch of time, but we'll see. It was roughly 1 minute just a few miles ago.
And Zach, I'm sure you saw that scanning everywhere trying to find the rider ahead of him. Hate to tell him, nowhere near.
He's up there, but he's just a bit further than you can see.
1 minute, 3 seconds. So yeah, definitely a costly mistake there, and possibly, you know, how that factored in with the pit stop, we don't know, but he definitely did lose the toe of the 2 riders ahead of him. Again, as commentators, it's our job to kind of throw things in here, not throwing anybody under the bus. But I got to tell you, man, for me, that was not the move. I mean, he was in a podium position, right with those guys, riding well. And you just have to think so much less when you're sitting in that number 3 spot or 2 spot. You're able to follow this guy right here, especially, you know, Bryson Neal. I mean, he's just automatic. He gets out there. He's so smooth. Don't know if we saw a full lock in there.
Quick little goggle strap adjustment.
We got close to a lock-in when we saw the guardrail back there, but that's the most I've saw so far as lock-ins go. So B. Neal back off and rolling. The Bidwell Bullet going to fire off once again. Now panning back to the 5 machine of Wilkin.
Wow, Wyatt Wilkin
no pit.
Not pitting there. Oh, okay, he's pitting around the corner. All right, there we go. That was, I was like, wow, he's getting some phenomenal fuel mileage. But he does come in and out, and he was 25 seconds behind, looking like he still is in that same range. Now we'll wait and we'll watch. We'll see the number 15 of Brandon Owens come through. He should bypass the pits. He stopped last lap, but he is about 1 minute and 3 seconds behind the number 5 in the number 2 ride of Wyatt Wilkin.
There it is. So now waiting in the pit. See who's going to come through next.
Watching, looks like some of the Phoenix Yamaha guys getting ready. Potentially John Glotta Jr. going to be stopping in.
We did see Stephen Harrell had already pitted last lap, so he will be bypassing. Josh Merritt should be coming in behind Brandon Owens and having to pit. It did not look like he pitted on early in lap number 3. So now here at the beginning of lap number 4, we should see, here comes Brandon Owens. Yep. Oh,
gonna stop again. Okay, get some hydration.
Yep, getting himself a little water bottle handoff.
He probably needs that, Johnny.
Yeah, he's put a lot of effort out this lap trying to close the gap. Obviously making that mistake, seeing him off the machine, costing him quite a bit of time. And we'll see here. Oh.
So, Johnny, while we sit back and watch here at the pit lane, I've got to ask you, this is completely off topic, but if you call our race clock a ticker, do you also call the TV remote a zapper, Johnny?
I've never heard of a zapper.
You've never heard of the zapper?
It's a ticker and a clicker. Come on, get it together.
Come on, man.
Oh, man.
That's what you hit flies with.
We can see all of the crew members really looking anxious here. And Josh Merritt, he would be another rider pitting under that action tent around the corner. So that is your 4th place ride now behind Owens as we pan and see him in there. We see Mark Notman on the fuel jug. Looks like Levi Cohen offering some words of encouragement, trying to coach him up, letting him know that Brandon Owens lies just up the track ahead of him. Now, here comes the melee. So Jay Shadron gets an ear or an eyeful of Josh Merritt and then an earful from wife Sierra saying, hey, those are top 5 positions ahead of you. Let's go get him.
I won my class, don't forget. And then there he goes. Great stuff from Jay Shadron and the rest of our XC1 field as our leaders making their way through pit lane. Oh, man, I'm getting fired up. 2-lap card is out. We're entering the closing stages of the Talladega GNCC. Man, what can you say at this point about Bryson Neal that hasn't already been said? Execution to perfection. Gets a good start, turns it into a lead, And at this point now, it is just doing what Bryson Neal does best. Meanwhile, Brandon Owens, the man on the charge, maybe a questionable pit. Looks like a little mistake, set the cards not in his direction, but he's not giving up. We know Brandon Owens isn't going to do that. He is on the charge, trying to chase down the rider between the two of them. Wyatt Wilkins sitting kind of quietly in that second place spot at the moment. How's the podium going to shake out? Who's going to grab the win here at Talladega? We'll find out after this break, live on Racer TV.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach. Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation. The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to beautiful Talladega Super Speedway. We're just across the road here for the Talladega GNCC year number 2. And this man is shaking and baking right now. Bryson Neal on the #1. I don't even think he's Ricky Bobby at this point. He's full Lightning McQueen. He is rolling right now. Ka-chow. He's gone.
Yeah, he has a good lead there, sitting about 25 seconds ahead of Wyatt Wilkins on that #5 machine. And we see some lap riders coming through. Bryson Neal has already made the pass on these guys. Wyatt Wilkins still has to get around them, so I think we're going to see that gap. I wouldn't say that once Bryson's just so good at kind of sensing. I don't even know if he's getting pit boards out there. But it seems like he gets out to like that 30, 40 seconds. He feels comfy with that. And you can see right there, Wyatt Wilkins very nearly having an opportunity to make the pass. But here's another 1-2 seconds that he lost right there behind that lapped rider. And again, these riders battling for a position in their own right. This track very difficult to get out of the way. But don't think that that isn't factoring into that gap of Bryson Neal continuing to pull away.
Well, and that's the perfect example. We take a look at our lap times from the last lap, and it's a 1 second here, a half a second there. These are the things that add up. We take a look at the lap times, a 25:35 for Bryson Neal, a 25:57 for Wyatt Wilkins. So, like we talked about, not seeing seeing any huge differences as far as the intensity, the aggression, the riding style, but some of it a little out of your control, timing in place as far as when you catch these lap riders. But like you said, the limited mistakes from Neal mixed with just the, I don't know if it's the craftiness or what, as we see Brandon Owens in that third place spot, who had a 26.58, almost a minute slower than our top two on that last lap. Whatever it is, Neal's got it figured out, and it seems like he's able to pick his way through the lap traffic. I'm not going to say with relative ease, but with maybe a bit more ease than the rest of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that just comes, part of that is just composure. Look at that great catch there. Zach Herron pointing out Hunter Hart now up into the 19th spot. So that would be 2 overall points for Hart. They're sitting inside the top 20, 35th at the end of lap number 1. Bending a brake pedal, a very, very costly mistake or miscue out on the race course that caused that. Could be just a root jumping up, anything. He does run Nerf bars, so it's got to be something coming up from the bottom and jamming that pedal, catching it, and pulling it in under the frame. Now look at all these lapped riders. Now Josh Merritt is going to have to navigate all these to try to run down Brandon Owens. 30 seconds was the gap, back 35 seconds actually, and that appears that it has grown. So Brandon Owens, big rough lap there on lap number 3. And look at this, Jay Shadron, we saw this coming. Shadron was able to close the gap, and now he has 4th place Merritt in his sights, and the headlights are shining, and he sees bright opportunities ahead of him with an opportunity to gain a position. Flashing ahead 1 mile further, Bryson Neal on screen. Man, guys, I got to tell you, it's always interesting to me. Bryson Neal seemingly kind of just cruising early in the race, and he picks up the pace as he goes. Now he's got upwards of a 25-second lead on Wyatt Wilkin, and he's just continuing to charge and almost punish this Talladega dirt for getting in his way. He's just pounding his way around this racetrack, almost dancing on the foot pegs. You pointed out, Jackson, kind of how they hop through those tight sections, throwing the bike, that you almost dance from the inside peg to the outside peg to weight those pegs to throw the machine as you kind of wiggle it through the trees. Bryson Neal's so good at that.
Yeah, it just seems like perfection. I don't know any way to put it. The way the quad sets in some of these corners, we see other riders getting kicked all around as we watch Wyatt Wilkin through this same section. I mean, that's almost flawless as well. You see he's starting to get some roots kicking up as well, kicking the back end around, but it's just the intensity mixed with putting that machine exactly where he wants it to be. So, Neal, just like we talked about, almost one of those riders that builds intensity as the race goes on, Jackson.
No doubt. And something I think worth talking about here, this is our only back-to-back weekends, Johnny. And I know these are pro riders. These are the most fit athletes. But is it possible to race an ATV for 2 hours and not be sore?
It's not even just a matter of soreness. It's a matter of the body does take time to recover. And during a normal 2-week or 3-week break between rounds, these guys will do some riding, they'll do some stretching, they'll do some cardio early in the week to kind of recoup. We see Brandon Owens. Look at this. He's made up some ground. I have him only about 44, 45 seconds back, what was a minute and 3 behind Wyatt Wilkins. Now, we did know that he did pick up part of that time by not having to pit that lap, but still within striking distance if Wyatt Wilkin makes just any miscues on these final lap and half of racing here. But yes, they're definitely feeling the effects of it. But Bryson Neal, I would say arguably probably not only the most fit, but one of the more efficient riders. And that's a key on a track like this. If you override this track, you'll make mistakes, and you just find yourself burning up so much energy needlessly, where Bryson Neal is just, I mean, he hits his marks. He is so efficient. He's just always driving forward and always gaining time. I think if there's any rider that's feeling as close to 100%, even after that, as he said, torture chamber of a race in Florida 7 days ago, Bryson Neal not really showing any lingering effects from that race.
And Bryson still glancing over in that open section as he makes his way through. Good shot there from our camera operator. I didn't realize how off camber that corner was coming through there, but not needing too much of a glance back this time. Just wants to see how much dust he's kicking up as Bryson, man, just like you said, so efficient and just so calculated with where he's going. Exactly what line he wants, that's what he gets.
Well, Bryson was able to get a clear view there. Nobody is anywhere near him right now as we pan back to Wyatt Wilkin making his way through that very same section.
Yeah, and because of that brush right there, I don't know that Bryson Neal was able to sight Wyatt Wilkin and vice versa. So it is still kind of a question of what that gap is between those two. But Wilkin knows he's throwing everything at it, and Bryson Neal knows that he does not have any immediate pressure behind him. So these two kind of settling into the front 2 spots. We'll see if we can get an exact gap back to our 3rd place ride of Brandon Owens as we see Wyatt Wilkin now coming around there as he passed that 2-way section. We'll see if we get that same shot from our Yamaha Racing Live drone. Looked like it was about 44 seconds in our last camera shot. Don't expect to see a big change in the time because it was a very short section of racetrack, but it will show if Brandon Owens has more pace and starts chipping away at that gap to Wyatt Wilkins, it's really going to motivate him, and vice versa for Wyatt Wilkins sitting in the number 2 spot. If suddenly he starts to feel that pressure, he's kind of left with 2 options: pick up the pace and try to run away, or just settle into. I'm kind of hoping we get to see a battle just like we saw with Hunter Hart and Brandon Owens just 3 weeks ago at round 1 at Big Buck.
Well, it's crazy how the difference in not seeing someone. If you're Bryson Neal, not seeing anyone behind you, well, that's encouraging. But if you're Wyatt Wilkins, not catching a glimpse of Bryson Neal can be discouraging. So really impressive. As Johnny, what are you seeing there on the stopwatch?
46 seconds. So again, it has kind of stabilized at that gap there, and that probably could be at least in part from the pit stop from Wyatt Wilkins. It was 1 minute and 3 seconds when they checked in at scoring, now down to about 46 seconds. So just less than 20 seconds he made up there as Wyatt Wilkins came in and pitted in that action off-road pits, and Brandon Owens pitting a lap earlier off sequence from the rest of the leaders. So interesting to see. We know Stephen Harrell also pitted early, but he has kind of started to fall back, possibly even to the grasp of John Glada Jr. there in that number 7 spot. And now we see Josh Merritt on screen. That is your 4th place ride. And we did see some pressure from Jay Shadron. So is Merritt able to regroup? Nope. Well, I mean, regroup or not, Jay Shadron has latched on, and he is putting heavy pressure on the number 3. And this is the battle for the 4th place position on screen from our Yamaha Racing live drone.
Johnny, you talked about the track getting rough, and we can really see it now, especially from the ground cameras. And right there, you're able to see the roots as we have a battle on our hands here with Shadron and Merritt.
Gotta think the momentum running with the headlights for the moment. Shadron has worked his way forward, tracked him down. Meanwhile, just doesn't seem like Merritt's been able to get the momentum going here in this race. Not that he's looked bad, but just hasn't really been able to make up a lot of time as we pick up this battle once again. Shadron in the captain's seat right now, able to peek inside, outside. Got to think he knows. Got a little more pace now. He's just got to stay patient and wait for an opportunity.
Yeah, and he's come from a long way back. I mean, he's made his way around Harrell, made his way around McGill. There was a whole bunch of riders between these two just a lap and a half ago or so. Now we see our 3rd place rider on screen 7 miles in. Brandon Owens still missing that inside line.
I'm waiting to see if this is where the pass happens.
Yeah, this could be. If Josh Merritt misses this line here as they come by here in about another 30 seconds, this could be the opportunity that Jay Shadron needs. And it looks like this is the battle following it from our Yamaha Racing live drone. Josh Merritt sitting in the number 4 spot. Jay Shadron in 5th, wheel to wheel coming through this section, and they're working their way ever so close. So we're going to switch to our static camera here in just a moment, and we're going to see if Jay Shadron sees that inside line. Can he make the pass, Zach?
Let's see. It's a straight shot. You want to talk about shake and bake, slingshot, engage. That would put him right in front of Josh Merritt. That main line, a little switchback 4th. Let's see. We're holding the shot just beside the pylon. That is the line that we saw Bryson Neal take a little bit earlier. It straightens this corner out significantly, definitely a little bit faster, but the main line off to the right-hand side of your screen. And now it's just watching and waiting. Sometimes it's the presence of a battle that makes your eyes start wandering a little bit, looking for that opportunity.
And that can be hard too when you're leading a group like this or leading a rider. You know, you're not as focused on the trail because you're so worried about not leaving any lines open. How's it going to play out? We're going to find out here in just a moment. Merritt misses the line, but so does Shadron. I don't know that there's enough meat on the bone for a pass there, but it definitely is an opportunity to at least get next to the rider and let him know you're there.
Without a doubt. Still to this point, I think Neal, the only one we've seen take that line so far. As I'm also a little bit surprised to see just quite how drastically. Oh, it sounds like Wilkin did take it. We just got word from race control, but man, you can really see the difference in speed between our front runners and those lap riders, even in the solid conditions that we have here today.
And this continues to be the battle on screen over the number 4 position. Just ahead of them on track is Brandon Owens in 3rd. Wyatt Wilkin up about 45 seconds ahead of him, and then about another 30 seconds ahead is Bryson Neal in the lead. But this is the tightest battle we have on the racetrack inside the top 5 right now, and is the battle for 4th and 5th. Josh Merritt has that 4th place spot, but Jay Shadron in the headlights are putting heavy pressure.
He's flashing the brights, telling him to move over. Here we go. Shadron wants that number 4 spot.
That is a lot of pressure to endure, and knowing this isn't even the last lap when they come through, it will only be a white flag in the hands of Ricky Towery. So Merritt definitely looking like he is trying to settle in for the long haul, but Jay Shadron not giving him much room to breathe there, continuing to put pressure on the number 3 of Merritt.
Well, we know Merritt is a podium contender. We've saw that in the past seasons, but starting the year out with 2 8th place finishes, you know Josh Merritt's going to want that 4th place spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where you want to get the momentum going. Obviously, both races inside the top 10. We know he had a big crash there at round 1, bending that axle and kind of just having to kind of take what the rest of the race would give him, but then definitely a, you know, by the standards of a number 3 rider, a subpar performance there. 7th in class and 8th overall. Braxton Gross able to get him on corrected time. So Josh himself saying, you know, I'm okay with the first 2 rounds. We had some mishaps, just wasn't quite ready for the sands of Florida, but I think I'm ready to go here for Talladega, and actually was running in the number 2 spot until just the final few corners a year ago. Walker Fowler able to make that pass. So podium here last year. Sitting in right now in that 4th place spot, definitely not wanting to give up another position to Shadron. If he does, I think this one would definitely be a disappointment for Josh Merritt.
The burden of expectation, we talk about it, these riders as they grow in their careers and as they start to become you know, more successful, Jackson. Yes, it's worth celebrating, but with that comes the expectation and the desire to repeat those results. So somebody like a Wyatt Wilkin, we saw kind of dealing with that last year after thinking he was going to be making the step up to a title contender, a regular podium threat. Didn't quite meet those expectations like he had hoped, but with that also, he kind of got that new refreshed energy when he got that podium to start off the year as well. So it's an ebb and flow, give and take here on the mental side as well.
Yeah, especially I feel the same way for riders like Brandon Owens, getting that weightlessness of the accomplishment of round number 1, and now I've got that burden of expecting it going forward.
Well, and on top of that, Johnny, you can even talk about it. It goes away real quick. The feeling of accomplishment suddenly becomes into, well, now I know I can, so now I expect to.
Sure, and again, just that not a great performance for Owens in the sands of Florida 1 week ago, but that's the beauty about this part of the season. There's only 1 week until you get a chance to do it again. Looking like you might have stalled the machine there. Yeah, so that's just a little miscue there for Owens, but he's still within striking distance, about 45 seconds back of Wyatt Wilkin. We do know lapped riders very much in the mix right now, and he does a very, very comfortable gap over Josh Merritt and Jay Shadron, who are battling in that 4th and 5th place position. So he's well in a podium position. Even if he finishes where he isn't able to make up any ground on Wilkin, this will still be an absolute career day for Brandon Owens if he's able to put it on the overall podium for the first time in his young career.
So hanging here at the 9-mile mark as we get ready to see a white flag in the hands of Ricky Towery. Shout out to Danik Paquin, still running inside that top 10 overall out of your XC2 class.
We see a big drop back from Braxton Gross there, as he is all the way back in that 4th place spot in the XC2 class. So a rider winning the first 2 rounds, coming out here today, looking like he was starting to run down Paquin, trying to make it 3 in a row. Now all the way back to that number 4 spot. He's behind Dalton Keys, who's in 3rd, Lane McCormick in 2nd, and Danik Paquin all the way up there in 8th overall. Looking at the lead that Paquin has as we go back to McCormick in 2nd, 57 seconds. We are told that the gap has closed up quite a bit. If that is Wyatt Wilkin there in the number 2 spot, doesn't
I don't think that
look like Wilkin.
We'll wait and see.
And there we go.
There's Wilkin.
Yeah, that was a lapped rider there. Very similar gear, similar looking machine, but you can tell by the pace, just not quite going as fast as our lead riders, so still a comfortable gap for Bryson Neal. But again, look at how many lapped riders. So it's kind of, as you pointed out, the ebb and flow of you get some lapped riders in front of the leader, maybe Wilkin gets to close up the gap a little bit, then he has to make those same passes. You can see riders battling here. They're battling for position in their own class, in the overall. A lot of times they don't know that it's lead riders coming up on them. They just hear a machine revving. They hold their line, try to make it hard to pass. They don't realize it's a rider trying to put them a lap down, and that can cost valuable seconds here in GNCC racing.
Hey, I want to give a big shout out to our friend, the Golden Boy, Brock Glover. Just shot me a text saying they're watching Racer TV live at Indy Supercross. Hope they're having a good time out there in Mikey Wayne's neck of the woods. We flash back to Brandon Owens making his way through. Owens bobbing and weaving some of those branches. He's doing some ducking moves out there, but he's tucking to some insides, trying to find some smooth real estate that maybe hasn't quite been chewed up so much.
Well, I got to tell you, showing a lot of composure, Brandon Owens. I mean, it would have been very easy after that kind of miscue with the pit there. We saw the spinning around. He lost that lead group, wasn't able to make up the time to take advantage of that off-sequence pit strategy that his crew had in mind there, and then making that big mistake there on lap number 3. and dropping back over a minute from our second place rider of Wyatt Wilkin. Looks like he's really regrouped. We haven't seen any mistakes. He's riding well. He's keeping himself back about that 45 seconds gap back now, and I think he is solidly in a podium position. And at this point, it's really his podium to lose. It doesn't look like Josh Merritt nor Jay Shadron have the pace to be able to close up that gap. So honestly, at this point, if you're Brandon Owens, it's just a matter of clicking off the mile markers, not thinking about the gravity of it, because I got to tell you, to have, as a young rider, only second year in this class, to have yourself in position to gain your first ever podium, that is so huge. You just can't let yourself get too deep into thought on that. And that looked like that might be Josh Merritt there in the number 4 spot, and it is, but no Jay Shadron. So what was a fierce battle just a mile ago, looks like Merritt has gotten the better end of it, and looks like Shadron, maybe a mistake, maybe even just a disadvantage of some lapped riders there. Now Merritt has quite a bit of breathing room there in that number 4 spot, no longer being pressured by Shadron.
Crazy how quickly things can turn as Merritt now got the breathing room, and there you see Shadron, so still on the charge, but just like you said, Johnny, one bad group of lappers where they can't get out of the way and you're stuck behind them, and you can just watch your competition disappear.
And that can be so frustrating if you're in that what we call the catbird seat, sitting right behind there thinking, okay, I'm just following this guy. A lot of times a lapped rider will pull out of the way realizing there's not one, but sometimes 2, 3, 4 top riders coming through, you know, and they're just kind of riding their own race. They sometimes pull out of the race line and pull right back in. We don't know what happened. We don't have a camera shot of it, but something definitely happening to cause Jay Shadron to lose a significant amount of time there, looking like he's now about 10 seconds or more behind Josh Merritt, where he was right on the rear wheels just less than a mile ago.
Yeah, one thing for sure, when these riders are catching up to those lap riders, they are eating a ton of dust. Riders like Wyatt Wilkin, really, really in a dust bowl back there, but here we go. Ricky Towery going to wave the white flag here as Bryson Neal going to check in for what is 4 laps complete.
You could almost hear the here we go out of Ricky Towery when he popped into sight. So Bryson Neal one more time around Talladega and going to pick up his 3rd win of the season. If he can do it, try to keep it perfect so far here in 2026.
Folks, let's take a look at the lap time here. Nearly 1 minute slower for Bryson Neal, but still continue to stretch that gap out. I think there's a couple things at play there. Track definitely getting rougher. Bryson Neal, no immediate pressure behind, kind of settling into his pace, but also the lapped riders. Such a huge obstacle for these top riders as they work their way through. Now it is Wilkin coming through in the number 2 spot. 26:31 lap time for Bryson Neal. Wilkin now checking in with a 26:44. About 45 seconds slower for Wyatt Wilkin. So not quite losing as much time this lap, sitting back 38 seconds behind. Last lap it was 25, so losing about 13 seconds on that lap of racing. So still within striking distance, but with 38 seconds and only 1 lap remaining, it's definitely going to be a challenge for him.
No doubt about it. Now the clock resets. As take a look at this. Going to see who this rider is off the machine. The 325 having some tough luck here today. Not the way he wants to end his Talladega. Meanwhile, flashing back to the start-finish line as we wait for Brandon Owens, potentially looking at his first ever XC1 podium here today. That might have been Owens that just went by.
Yeah, Brandon Owens is checked in, Zach.
Yep, so Owens now one more time through. Got to take a deep breath here, Johnny. It's going to be the longest lap of his career, no doubt about it. Maybe not. I don't know. That last lap with Hunter Hart at round 1 probably felt pretty long, too.
Well, a 26:37, only 6 seconds slower than Bryson Neal, the leader we see on screen. Looking like he took a little hydration bottle there coming into the pro pit section. So Brandon Owens definitely having the pace on that lap. But again, just losing the toe of that lead group and the mistakes made on lap number 3, looming large there. But I mean, he has definitely recovered well with that lap time, showing he has the pace on his own. And I think it bodes well for him, confidence leaving this race. As long as he can close this one out in this last lap of racing, what an accomplishment for this young man if he can keep it on the podium and take that confidence as we head into Camp Coker here in just a few weeks for round number 4. Looking at our top 20 as we see Bryson Neal on screen, we wait for Wyatt Wilkins here in the pro pits. Harrison Lindsay up into the top 20 overall. We did see Hunter Hart there, worked his way up to 19th. He will be checking in here soon with 4 laps complete as Wilkin now comes through in the number 2 spot. But Harrison Lindsay, top amateur out of that College A class. Man, what a start to the season for Lindsay. Winning round number 1, top amateur there. and then just getting edged out by Cole Likens, or Bryce Pullen. Likens in that XC2 class. Bryce Pullen's just getting past him on that last lap of racing. So it has been a real resurgence here for the 557 of Harrison Lindsay, our top amateur, as they run with 3 laps complete, waiting on the completion of lap number 4. Josh Merritt now has checked in 1 minute, 17 seconds behind, so losing a bunch of time to Brandon Owens on lap number 4. Merritt just not able to match the pace of the top 3 ahead of him there.
So to give you a reminder here, Bryson Neal leading the way with 38 seconds between him and Wilkin. Wilkin going to have 56.6 seconds back to Brandon Owens. And then, like we said, a minute and 17 back to Merritt in that 4th place spot, as now we see the 15 machine of Owens looking to stop for a pit. So going to go back to him, and he does, Johnny.
Yeah, there we go. So now it's a 2-strap strategy for Owens. Again, I think his crew will likely learn a lesson from this one. Owens didn't seem to be very happy with it. Again, I think it was kind of I don't want to say a Hail Mary, but, we talked off camera a little bit about what that strategy exactly means. If you're a rider that feels you have more pace than the riders in front of you, it can be a great opportunity to make passes in the pits, knowing those riders have to stop next lap. But that absolutely hinges on the fact that you have to be able to get back close enough to them, and Owens was just not able to do that with the mistake. So maybe a little bit of a gamble there, and in this case, the house wins. Bryson Neal, hard to bet against the house, and he seems to be doing everything right here in 2026.
Yeah, and you got to wonder as well, at that point, hadn't yet heard that it was a 5-lap race, so maybe they were trying to, like you said, make a bit of a Hail Mary and a bold strategy. But one thing's for sure, it's going to make things exciting as we get ready for a checkered flag. Bryson Neal out front, Wyatt Wilkin continuing to charge hard in that number 2 spot. A little bit of space now between our top 3, as Brandon Owens, the one to watch here on this final lap, trying to get his first XC1 win at Talladega of all places. How's it all going to shake out? Plenty still up for grabs as well. There's that sneaky line. Oh, and we got Wilkin on camera too. So 2 riders checking that out. Maybe we'll see a few more grab it here on the final lap. But one thing we will see for sure is a checkered flag coming up when we get back to Talladega here on Racer TV.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda Tires. Delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles. Automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda Tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
Family values and a homegrown work ethic. Cometic Gasket seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Cometic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best inside their engine. Cometic Gaskets are always constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environments. Whether it's a championship on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts alike depend on Cometic. Cometic Gasket, sealing championships since 1989.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready.
All right, everyone, welcome back here to the fields of the Talladega Superspeedway. Checking in at mile number 3 for the final lap of racing here for our pro ATVs.
And there he is right on cue, the man to beat, trying to make it 3 for 3 this season, Bryson Neal. At this point, Jackson, I mean, I feel like we've said it all. We can just set up an auto recorder to repeat some of the things that we've talked about, because Neal, he's just flowing right now on a track that seems almost impossible. It seems like it's starting to throw riders around. It still seems like Neal able to put that Phoenix Racing Yamaha exactly where he wants and continuing to just stretch things out even if he's not trying to.
Yeah, what more can you say? It just seems like all the stars are aligned here for the Bidwell Bullet.
So watching and waiting now. Wyatt Wilkins should be the next rider we see on our screen from the lead lap.
Guys, while we wait for Wyatt Wilkin, little update in the top 5, top 6 there. There is Wilkin in the number 2 spot, still charging, still with a comfortable gap over the number 3 ride of Brandon Owens there. But Josh Merritt sitting in 4th, 1 minute 17 seconds behind Owens. Jay Shadron, we saw him up on the rear wheels of Merritt, falling back 20 seconds behind. But look at this, our podium finisher from Florida, Stephen Harrell, sitting there in that number 6 spot, only 15 seconds behind Jay Shadron. So Stephen Harrell starting to stir here late and seeing 5th and 4th not too far up the trail in front of him. I think we might see 3 riders pushing this battle here, and it might be a 3-rider battle over that number 4 spot before this one's over.
Well, and that could be a huge swing as far as 6th to 4th. We know Harrell really strong late in the races as well. He's talked about been working on that, so putting the pressure on, and we know Shadron able to respond as well, bring that fight potentially back up to Merritt. So going to be fun to watch. There's the 325 we saw broken down earlier. He's back out and rolling.
Little repairs in the pits made. Looks like we got some more lap riders coming through. Danik Paquin now starting to really open up that gap. I'm not even going to say the town that he's from in Quebec. I believe it's Saint Joseph de Luc. There's a whole bunch of dashes. There's some exclamation points, maybe even an ampersand in there. But there we see Owens in the number 3 spot. And we can't say enough about this young rider and that Sturtevant Power Sports Racing team behind him. Man, they have taken this young man, kind of picked him out of, I don't want to say obscurity, but a rider that was kind of struggling to get finishes. He always showed the speed, but they've really got him on the right track, and now he is looking down the barrel of his first ever overall podium, and also the first ever overall podium for them since opening that shop up. Brent Sturtevant having some podium finishes back in the day in GNCC himself as a professional ATV racer, but now he's passing that experience along and coaching up the young Brandon Owens, and this will be a great day for him and that team. A great day for Bryson Neal. Just another day at the races, out front marching away with what be a perfect start to the season there, and he is just kind of continuing to be class of the field here as he looks like he puts the finishing touches on this one with about another 8 miles of racing action to go.
Well, to your point, Johnny, it's not just speed, it's control and the conciseness of Bryson Neal that makes it so impressive to watch. As we see Josh Merritt now making his way through, getting some airflow through the helmet, goggles off. So Merritt on the charge, might have gotten the word, hey, you got a couple of people trying to breathe down your neck. They don't just want a top 5, they want that number 4 spot.
Yeah, Jay Shadron 20 seconds behind him when they checked in.
That's not 20 seconds.
Like it's a little less than that now. Flashing ahead another mile further up the trail, it is Wilkin in that number 2 spot. Not close enough to Bryson Neal to really make any noise at this moment, but still with a comfortable gap over the 3rd place ride of Brandon Owens. Oh, we're told Josh Merritt. Okay. We had a little confusion there. Nope, still good. Nope. Everything's still as expected. We'll be waiting on Brandon Owens here at the mile 4 marker, and that is not him there. That
same gear.
Yep, it was blue bike, same gear. It looked just like him. But Owens still in that podium position. Sorry for the little miscommunication there, folks. We're getting word that it was Merritt coming through in 3rd, but they meant the 3-mile marker. So if you're a Brandon Owens fan,
take a breath.
Alarm.
Everybody's okay.
He is still circulating. He is still in the number 3 spot. Merritt in 4th, and we did see Jay Shadron just behind him. But what we did not see on camera was Stephen Harrell coming through that shot. spot. And we know that last we had seen, he was making a significant amount of time up and getting ever closer to the back of Jay Shadron.
Johnny, really seeing how difficult this track is starting to get, beat up in some of these sections. Not quite as bad here at mile 4, but nonetheless, some of this track is really beat up at this point, as now we see Owens making his way through.
Shoot, that was full rip in there from Brandon Owens. So it's not a matter of just, kind of nursing this one to the finish line. He's still charging. Don't know if he knows the gap to the riders behind him, and he does have a big gap of 1 minute 17 seconds over Josh Merritt. So he is solidly in that final podium position with no pressure at all behind him, really just needing to kind of be smooth, hit his marks, and get this one done. And it will be a big celebration. We saw a first-time podium finisher just 7 days ago in Stephen Harrell. Now it looks like Brandon Owens is in position to get it done here today at Talladega.
Yeah, how about that? As we're going to hold here at mile 4, want to see what's going on with that 4th, 5th, and 6th place battle between Merritt, Shadron, and Harrell. We caught just a glimpse of Shadron, who had cut 20 seconds down to, I think that might even be less than 10.
Yeah.
And so we'll see whether or not Stephen Harrell able to reel both of them in, maybe do a little BOGO shopping here.
Well, throw it back to a lap ago. Shadron was actually on the rear wheels of Merritt, and then something changed there in that section of racetrack, and Merritt able to open that up. And then Stephen Harrell, we never really saw him on camera, but when they came in and checked in there at the finish line, he was very, very close. Now, Merritt has some lapped riders in front of him. That rider getting out of the way. We see Josh Merritt with the goggles off. You pointed out getting some of that airflow, so he is pushing that lap rider, jumps back in. 09 kind of leaving that camera shot there. We'll see what it is back to Jay Shadron. Now it looks like it's open back up again. We're at 10 seconds now, and Jay Shadron still not even into the camera shot. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. About 18 seconds is the gap. We'll see what it is back to. The 9:08 of Stephen Harrell was 15 seconds. Looking like that one might have opened back up a little bit as well. Lapped riders, again, a big part of this equation here. As you see, these guys are tired late into this one. Now here comes Harrell on the 9:08 machine.
Right here, you can see just how beat up that track is as Harrell makes his way through.
So that is your top 6 through here at the 4-mile marker, with Harrell rounding out the top 6. John Glada Jr. about 1:36 back now in that number 7 spot, jumping ahead to the 7-mile marker. Bryson Neal, that inside line again, you can see just hitting his marks, and he has a pretty substantial gap here over Wyatt Wilkin in the number 2 spot. Man, he is on rails and doing everything right at the moment.
See the thumbs up being given to him as he comes through. I mean, it's just one of those things where I think you can't help but support what Bryson Neal's doing. I mean, even when you're his competition, they all have so much respect for him. The way that he rides, he's aggressive when he needs to be, but not across that line, anything like that. Usually stays out of the conflict, never a lot surrounding his name. Honestly, even in the pits, pretty low-key, kind of just has his setup down there. He's got Pops, he's got the family hanging out with him, and then he throws the helmet on and just turns into an absolute animal.
Here comes Wilkin in the number 2 spot, and that's actually Sierra Shadron cheering these guys on. She was out there this morning herself in that morning race, winning the women amateur class, and she is waiting for her rider, Jay Shadron, sitting in the number 5 spot, about 18 seconds behind Josh Merritt. So she'll be waiting just a little bit longer. We'll have Brandon Owens coming, then Josh Merritt, and then Jay Shadron.
So let's see, they got the pit boards out. Last little bit of information you're able to give your riders here on this final lap.
Yeah, as we approach now to the 2-hour mark here in this one, we knew we were going to be going a little bit long here at Talladega.
Shout out to the 806 of Dustin Hendershot there, one of our senior A-class riders, former top A rider, and I believe ran some XC2 stuff back in the day. His son getting the bug to go GNCC racing. So Dustin himself building another ATV, coming back out of retirement. Just goes to show you can get away from GNCC racing for a little bit, but once it gets in your blood, it's hard to stay away too long. He is out there circulating in that senior A class himself and doing battle.
So continuing to watch here. Let's take a look at that now. Hunter Hart has climbed all the way up to that 16th spot. If you didn't catch us here in the beginning, Hart was back in the 35th OA position on lap 1, and he has been continuing to chip away. this is a big opportunity, Johnny. I know a few points, it really doesn't seem like a lot, but we have seen it time and time again where championship positions come down to a matter of 1 to 2 points by the end of the year. We know his middle name is All this weekend because Hunter's all heart as he's continuing to climb up this top 20.
Absolutely. In 35th place on lap number 1 would have gained 0 points on the day. At that point, it's almost you have the feeling of why even bother. But he was able to dig his heels in, fight back, was 19th a few laps ago, and then 18th, and now he's up into that 16th place spot here with still 1 more lap remaining. And Braxton Gross continuing to fall back there, has lost another, looks like 1, 2, he was in 4th. Now he's all the way back to 6th place spot in that XC2 class. So something going awry for the winner of our first 2 rounds. Don't know if he's just losing the pace or potentially an issue with himself or that machine. Still hanging on to a solid top 10, but giving up a bunch of time. And now falling back into the grasp of James Glauda and Keaton Henderson in that 19 and 20 place position. Looks like Harrison Lindsay has fallen out of the top 20. We'll check on our overall amateurs. No reason to be alarmed. They're still in that number 21 spot. And looking at the gap, Bryce pulling in that number 2 spot, only 23 seconds behind. So there is Josh Merritt now. 4th place has checked in. It is still Brandon Owens there in 3rd. And Jay Shadron giving chase, trying to track down Josh Merritt. A lap ago, he was on his rear wheels. Then he was 20 seconds back. Then it was 18. And it looks like he is still continuing to push to try to get that 4th place spot away from Josh Merritt. This could be a battle right down to the finish, but the 908 of Stephen Harrell lurking back there as well in the number 6 spot.
Here we go, 7 miles in the final lap. As we are now 2 hours and 1 minute into this race, we're going to find out who's been putting in the work. Sun's shining out there as well, Johnny. It is warm. It's a fair bit of humidity as well. Stephen Harrell making his way through a little different line.
Yeah,
there.
Interesting line there. He actually, instead of opting for that far inside, going way out and around, missing those ruts, maybe looking for some smooth running room here. Danik Paquin continuing to lead that XC2 Pro-Am class, and as we look back to Lane McCormick now 1 minute and 12 seconds behind, so Paquin really having control of that XC2 class here on this final lap of racing.
9 miles in, Bryson Neal continuing to slam the front of that machine into that little lip there. I can't quite tell if there's a root right there or what, but it's definitely an aggressive adjustment for everybody pretty much except Bryson. He seems like he's just launching off of it. Joel Hetrick style.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
he's just sending it at this point. He's having fun out there. He's got a good gap. He's been able to avoid the mistakes, and he's just continued to open up that gap over Wyatt Wilkin. But man, a great ride for Wyatt Wilkin. He has put consistent pressure on Bryson Neal for more than half of this race. And even once he did kind of lose the toe, sitting back there only 38 seconds behind at the white flag, that is not at all a big gap. So hopefully this young man keeps his head held high, keeps chipping away at it, because right now, after 3 rounds of racing nearly complete, I think Wyatt Wilkin is kind of all alone at the top of contenders to try to run down Bryson Neal. We may see some other riders step up, but right now sitting in that number 2 spot in points coming into today with a 2nd place and a 4th place, looking down the barrel of another 2nd here today. He seems to be the heir apparent if someone's going to bring the fight to Bryson Neal.
Well, and we talked about how hard it is to get, not only say the motivation, but we just say the wind in the sails, for lack of a better words, after a DNF at round 1 last year. Wyatt, it's just so hard to climb back from that. Meanwhile, we see what he was capable of doing this year. We know he had that speed. He had a very similar fitness, maybe a few adjustments made between 2025 and 2026. But I think just getting things started on the right foot, continuing to push forward and show, hey, the work's paying off, the speed, the endurance, it's still there. Wilkin, I think, is more fired up than ever.
Absolutely. And, Zach, to your point, the race results on the weekend really kind of justify the work put in during the week. And all these guys are putting in the work, but, man, it can become such a grind when you're just not getting the results. You feel like you're doing all the right things. You're putting yourself in good positions, and it's just not working out. You start questioning, what am I doing wrong? When you're Wyatt Wilkin, yes, he doesn't have a win yet in 2026. Well, that's because Bryson Neal's taken all of them if he's able to put the finishing touches on this one. But still, sitting as close as he is in the points, and with a 2.42, that's a pretty solid start, and it really gives you a solid base to stand off of, and then you're just making small tweaks to the program. Is there things I can do during the week to make myself a little bit better? As we cut away, that was actually Brandon Owens coming in there in the number 3 spot. So if you're following along, I'm sure Brandon Owens having a lot of fans there out of Walker, West Virginia, and wanting to see this young man get his first podium. Worry not. He's still there. He's in the number 3 spot. That can be very nerve-wracking if you're home. Actually, Brent Sturdivant, one of the owners of that Sturdivant Power Sports racing shop there that is supporting Brandon Owens, texting me and saying, hey, I'm watching from home. Appreciate you guys keeping us filled in. So, you know, he couldn't be with us this weekend, but I guarantee you he's glued to his television. And right now he's watching Bryson Neal, but he's just waiting for any glimpse he can get of his rider in that number 3 spot, looking to earn his first ever GNCC overall podium.
Man, and how can you not be emotional about racing when you talk about stuff like that? You've got friends and family members all watching from home. It's such a group effort from all the people around you during the week, during the training, helping with the meals, helping with the preparation, the loading, the unloading, the washing of the machines. It truly is a family effort, whether that's a blood family or your GNCC racing family. It's all of these wins. We see it up on the podium. They're celebrated not just with the rider that accomplishes it, but with the people that help them accomplish that.
Absolutely. I mean, it takes a village. It truly does. You see Wyatt Wilkin taking a look over there, just making sure he doesn't have any company as he is working his way through this very open section here of this Talladega racetrack. He does have a pretty sizable gap over Owens in the number 3 spot. Again, on paper, maybe looking like a little bit of a boring race right now, but just a lap ago, things were really shaking up. And when I say boring, I mean, if you want to see wheel-to-wheel battles, we saw that all early in the race. It's kind of sorted its way out now, but still very exciting racing up front, managing the gaps, putting in the effort. Bryson Neal just continuing to stretch it out just a little bit each mile. Wyatt Wilkin maintaining that gap over Brandon Owens, and then that big gap back of over 1 minute and 20 seconds back to Josh Merritt in the number 3 spot. But that battle brewing behind him with Jay Shadron and Stephen Harrell, that's going to be one to keep an eye on all the way to the finish line.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious to see, is can Harrell start to pick things away in the final few miles of racetrack. We also know sometimes you get that first couple pit boards, say you're making time up, then you're like, okay, now I need to push even harder, and you almost override the machine as well. So anything possible here on the closing laps as John Glada Jr. in that 7th overall spot, Danik Paquin for the XC2 class. And is this the battle?
No, that's
a lap rider. Okay.
Yeah, that's Brandon Owens there in the number 3 spot with a couple of lapped riders. He's going around the outside. Looks like it might be Austin Wilson there out of that College B class. He was in a battle with a rider himself and then kind of took a look over and saw it was Brandon Owens, made the good decision and gave him some running room. Maybe he'll try to latch onto the back of Owens and see if he can make the pass. Look at this rider, no idea that he's losing a overall position being lapped. He thinks he's battling for position. You can see how hard he's fighting to try to hold Owens off there. Once he sees the back of that jersey, he takes a sigh of relief and says, okay, I didn't lose a spot. I'm just getting lapped. We'll get back to the battle.
Well, and then just like you said, tries to throw the tow rope on the back of Brandon Owens, says, well, if that's not the guy in my class, he's got to be right behind me too. So let's see if I can follow your pace here in these final few miles of racetrack. Meanwhile, we check in here at the finish line. Ricky Towery with that checker flag locked and loaded as we watch and wait for what looks to be the 3rd win of the season for Bryson Neal. Can he keep it perfect? I'm not throwing anything out there, but I am just saying, Joel Hetrick, undefeated in ATV MX, Phoenix Racing Yamaha. We'll see. We'll see. It's early.
Oh, young grasshopper, so much to learn.
I'm just saying.
Too early in the season. Bryson Neal's going to come over and thump you right on the head for that
possible.
one.
I'm just saying.
No, we got to do the hype, and obviously the way he's looking right now, it would be hard to say there isn't an opportunity for that to happen. But GNCC, so many variables, the weather, the tracks, you know, they're just such long races. It is a long road to trying to make a perfect season, but hey, you can't be perfect on the year if you're not perfect through the first 3. Ricky Towery saying, here we go, and here comes Bryson Neal. Just one more right-hander, one more left-hander, see if he stands it up on the rear wheels, coming around, and there we go. We get the wheelie across the line. We got a lock in earlier. Now we got the wheelie across the line. Bryson Neal, perfect start to the 2026 GNCC race season, grabbing win number 3 here at Talladega Superspeedway.
Great. Now I got to be scared about this guy thumping me after a performance like that.
You're getting thumped. No question about it.
The head's going to be another dent to the
perfect season.
I didn't even say the word, okay? I just alluded as to what could have happened.
You can see Chris Neal coming over. They got a bottle of water there for him. Obviously, it is warm here. This one did go the distance, 2 hours, and it looks like it was about 8 minutes. Let's see here, 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 3 seconds. Look at that, all smiles for Bryson Neal. Doesn't even look like he did anything today. He looks like he just went out there for a warm-up, and now he's ready for the race. Well, Bryson, not only did you do something, you did enough. Grabbing the win here today, that Phoenix Racing Yamaha, and here comes Wyatt Wilkin on the number 5. P2 on the day, P2 in points, and a very, very impressive start to the 2026 season for this young rider.
Man, he talked about it. Didn't have the Talladega that he wanted. Has turned things around. Look at that. Went back for the high five. That's how you know these guys are all about the fans at the end of the day. Wilkin got to be satisfied with that and continues to put a little padding between himself and the rest of the field as he sits in that number 2 spot in points. Getting ready to break things down with the crew down there. He looks like he's been racing. There's the smile. That's what it's all about. Big, deep breath there. Not bad at all. Wyatt Wilkin, another podium for the collection. As now we get ready.
You can see him taking a look at his hands there, wondering if maybe he was battling some blisters. There's the answer to the question. That may have been a big part of what we saw there at the end. Still holding a steady pace, but just not able to maintain the pace of Bryson Neal. But those blisters make it very hard to hold on, and it's going to make for a very painful shower later today for Wyatt Wilkin.
No, not so much. One hand's good, the other hand not so much.
Yeah, that throttle hand there is a little bit torn up. They hold on a little bit differently with that thumb throttle because they have to release the inside of their palm to be able to work that thumb throttle, and it just puts so much pressure on the outside of the palm, obviously causing a blister. And again, we talked about it earlier, just 7 days ago, they were in the absolute torture chamber of Florida. You know, the hands, the skin not having the full normal amount of time to recover could be a factor there as well. But now he's got 3 weeks until we go racing at Camp Coker, so he'll be healthy, healed up, and ready to roll, and sitting in that number 2 spot in points. We'll wait, and I'll let you call this one, Zach.
Man, here we go. History in the making. The first XC1 podium. He fought for it, and he got it. Put your hands together. Brandon Owens got to be fired up for that. And there you see the crowd going wild. And I can't wait for this podium celebration coming up. It is going to be a ton of fun. That is what it's all about. That's what you work so hard for here, Johnny. You can see it's still setting in as well. It takes, I don't even think up on the podium we get the full realization as to the accomplishment that is getting a podium finish at the top level of GNCC racing. Congratulations to Brandon Owen and that whole crew that backs him up. You can see he's starting to throw some high fives out there. There's the flash of the smile. That's what it's all about. What an accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell he is just worn out. They're dumping water down the back. He is collapsing. A lot of that probably just the emotional weight of things. Don't get me wrong, he's tired. That was a rough race. He went very deep to keep himself on that podium. But I think part of that, most likely, just that whole weight of this is a dream this gentleman has been chasing for so many years as a youth rider, as an amateur rider, as a pro-am rider, now on that front row, the elite of the elite, and he gets it done for his first ever overall podium here in Talladega. And, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say, somebody might have called this one early on in the race. I mean, this kid is just so fast in these conditions. He obviously was in position to get it done at Big Buck. Let it slip away from him in the final miles of racing. But today, getting it done. A podium for Brandon Owens. Looks like Josh Merritt has now checked in. Jay Chadron is 1 minute and 9 seconds behind for Merritt in the number 4 spot. Jay Chadron getting it down to 10 seconds at the finish line. That is your 4th and 5th place riders. As they come across the line, you see a fist bump between them. Wait and watch for Stephen Harrell to come through in the number 6 spot as we wait for our post-race interviews. And there is Harrell. Your top 6 have checked in here, Zach.
How about that? Yeah, I think to your point about Owens, I didn't really have any questions if he could do it after that final lap at Big Buck. Came down to the wire between him and Hunter Hart, and I think once you prove that you're able to fight that hard on the last lap, at a tough Big Buck as well, it just goes to show you're ready to go the distance, and you've made that step over the offseason. As we get ready, talking about taking a step, hard to step much further than this. Perfect on the season. Jackson Burrell stands by with Bryson Neal.
Yeah, guys, I'm down here with the Bidwell Bullet. He's had the celebratory cookie down here, and Yamaha also presenting him with his championship plaque that's going to be hanging up in the headquarters. Bryson, man, what a run here today at round number 3. How's it feel to be back on top here at Talladega?
It feels amazing, man. Absolutely amazing. Start the year off 3 wins in a row. It's a hot start for this Phoenix ATV Yamaha racing team. Super proud, especially, you know, like I talked about at round 1 with the seat time coming in with the hard winter we had. This whole week, I was sick, low energy, head cold, snotty, just not myself. And I actually got more tired today than I did at Florida. So I was pretty beat that last lap. and I was just counting down the mile markers. So really pumped to start the year off 3 wins in a row. Got another good start today. Anti-gravity batteries fired off great. Kenda tires are awesome. This Yamaha from this Yamaha YFZ40R with the help of Blue Crew, Donnie Lucy, Scott Newby, and Scott Yamaha. Thank you guys so much. David Eller and the whole entire Phoenix ATV team. Lonnie, Gary, everybody back at the shop. Dan and Brandon, Hadassah, Jay Gold, Impact Solutions, Elka Shocks, Walsh Components. Thank you guys so much. Factory 43 Nerfs as well with Moose Racing Gear, Parts Unlimited. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And, man, we're having a ball. We're having a blast.
Oh, there it is, Bryson. We sure couldn't tell you didn't feel like yourself out there. You're going to have some time to get healed up, get to feeling back like yourself. How do you feel headed into the sands of South Carolina?
I'm excited. Camp Coker's always one of my favorite ones on the track. I mean, it's not one, it is my favorite. That's my favorite track by outright. So it's nice to have a 3-week break. Spring's coming. I got some chores to do. Got to get the house in order, to get the race bike in order, and get my practice bike kind of revamped and have a little bit of a time with the 3-week break. And looking to have some good time with the family, getting some good seat time, and looking forward to come back racing here into March at Camp Coker.
His favorite track, he'll be ready to go. That is your overall winner, Bryson Neal.
So, Johnny, if Florida was a torture chamber, what does that make Talladega? If he said he was more tired after this, that's shocking with the ride that he just put on.
Well, I think it's probably, at least in part, the cumulative effects of what he put himself through in Florida 7 days ago. Obviously, we talked about it. 7 days isn't enough to recuperate from an effort like that, but he's back, he got the job done, and he's going to be strong again in 3 weeks. These guys are, he's really serving notice. If they want to grab a win, they're going to have to come through him.
Well, how about it? Talk about a response from round 2 to 3. What a difference a week can make. Jackson Burrell stands by with second place, Wyatt Wilkin.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with the 5 machine. Wyatt, a great run from you here today. Take us through it from your point of view.
Yeah, man, what a day. Oh, man, that track was old school, tight, bumpy, rooty, rocky. I don't know. Everything out there was rough, and the goal was to get a good start, and man, that track's tight, like I said, and it's hard to make passes. And we got up front early. We went to the woods second behind Bryson, and I looked back, saw B.O., and B.O. Rips had a local track, so he almost dang near got a podium here last year. So I knew us three were going to be ripping really well, and Bryson out front, I was just trying to toe off of him, and man, we were ripping. Yeah, just trying to copy, and Brandon was putting pressure, and I was trying to match Bryson, just not worried about Brandon, just match Bryson, figure out what he's doing, and yeah, we came in. The pit situation had me a little bit screwed. I wasn't sure if we were pitting, wasn't sure if we weren't. So when I come down through here, I was like trying to figure out if I was supposed to pit or wasn't or whatever, but lost a little bit of time there, and I knew Brandon pit, so just try to ride smart, and then I clipped the tree, and after that, he was just gone. Like, I couldn't toe off lines. I could lost him, and burned some energy trying to get the bike back going and get away from Brandon. And man, I was just trying to get it move along. My girlfriend, my dad was giving me pit boards, just trying to keep me moving because I didn't expect it to be a 5-lap race. We talked to Barry Hawk before the race, and he was like, "Yeah, we're going to do 4. We're trying to keep it a 4-lap, whatever. For now on, we might try 5." And come through for 5, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is going to suck." But no, it was a lot of fun. I think on the end of 4th lap, clipped another tree, had to get off, push the bike back, but it was a good day. It was a good day. I'm glad to be back on the podium after a 4th place, so we'll take it.
Wyatt, we could see those hands were beat up. Are you ready for this break that's coming up a few weeks off, and are you ready to head into South Carolina?
Yeah, honestly, I thought I was healed up from Florida. I started feeling good yesterday, day before, and man, we got out there on the 2nd lap, my legs started getting tired, and I was like, oh man, like not healed up yet. The blister that I thought went away, came up, got a new one on my finger, and I was just like, what in the world has happened out here? And I think it was just where it was so rough and just so gritty and just beat the crap out of me. But no, I'm excited to keep moving on. Camp Coker's back in the sand, got to do some training and some riding, and we'll hopefully be back on the podium.
It was rough, but he held tough. That is Wyatt Wilkin, your 2nd place.
And there you go, Johnny. You talk about the cumulative effects of rounds 2 and 3. That quick turnaround, just as much of a talking point as the individual rounds themselves. Wilkin feeling like he was back better than ever, and it just goes to show the body maybe not quite 100% recovered.
Yeah, again, it's just such a short window of time to recuperate. You know, these guys are all feeling the effects, and as he pointed out, a 5-lap race, kind of unexpected. We were thinking it might be on the bubble, but opting to go with the 5-lap race, 2 hours and 8 minutes. Looking at the lap times, it was the right call. It would have been marginally too short short had they have done a 4-lap race. And one rider that I'm sure, doesn't matter if it was a 4-lap race or a 5-lap race, I believe our man Jackson Burrell is down with Brandon Owens, his first ever career podium. He's just glad he got the race today.
Yeah, I'm standing by with the 15 machine on his first ever pro podium here in the XC1 class. Brandon, man, what a day for you here today. Take us through it. Take us through it from your point of view. What were you thinking? We talked a lot about the pit strategy as well today. Take us through it all.
Yep. Yeah, came into the weekend, we cycled the track, knew it was going to be super tight. Start's always crucial here. Yeah, we got the start, tried to put in consistent laps, made a little error with the pit, ended up pitting on beginning of lap 3, and yeah, just kind of set us back a little bit. I tried to make a push and ended up clipping 3 trees, just one wrecking me. I had to get off the bike every time, and yeah, pretty much from there just tried to keep the guys at bay, kind of stay where I was at, and just ride it in for, try not to mess up a podium potential ride.
Hey, you did just that. You pulled it in for a podium. How does it feel to be up here on the XC1 podium, and how does it feel to do it at somewhere like Talladega Superspeedway?
It's awesome. I don't have any words. It's awesome.
Oh, you heard it, guys. Well, Brandon, one more question for you. How do you feel headed into round 4? What's the plans?
Yeah, just going to try to keep the same mindset, put in good laps, get the starts, and yeah, I think we belong up here.
Going to try to make it 2 for 2. That's Brandon Owens, your 3rd place.
How about that, Johnny? I think the key word, belong. I know and I feel like I belong up here. That could be a whole new Brandon Owens moving forward from this.
Well, we didn't see a lot of emotion, but I think the fact that we didn't see it, he was fighting it back. You could kind of sense it in his voice there. Such a momentous accomplishment and a great day for Brandon Owens and that team, and it's only going to build some momentum going forward.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at our specialized race recap. The quickest turnaround between round 2 and round 3. Everybody still feeling the effects, whether they realize it or not, of Wild Boar GNCC. They line up on a beautiful Saturday here in Talladega. Everybody talking about how important the starts are, and man, there's been some heavy hitters all year long. Neil up on the inside, up inside that top 3. McClure grabbing the whole shot, but you see Wilkin. I just really noticed how big that wheelie was. That actually kind of took my breath away. That was incredible. Wilkin and Owens up there inside the top 3 early, and the freight train was on at this point. This is what we thought the tail of the tape was going to be. These 3 kind of running away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. They got to the front right away. You can see back there, you got Jared McClure there in the number 4 spot after grabbing that whole shot. Bryce Neal making connection with that tree. We later could see that the rut just kind of led them into it, but Bryce Neal leading the way, and he had a lot of pressure early on in this one. Wyatt Wilkin continuing to stay there. Brandon Owens in frame throughout much of the first few laps, and then when it came down to time for pit, things were shaken up a little bit. As we see right here, Brandon Owens coming through, arm out and wondering, what are we doing? Why are we pitting on lap number 3? These guys didn't pit, and he's coming in. You can see the discussion. He even referenced it in his post-race interview, saying it jammed him up a little bit, but ultimately he got back out on track. They got him in and out of there quickly, still in the number 3 spot, but this is where things started to stretch out a little bit. Wyatt Wilkin mentioning that he clipped a tree. That's where he lost the leader, and Bryce Neal able to kind of get a little bit of a gap. Brandon Owens back there about a minute back after it was all said and done, but continuing to fight, keeping himself in a podium position, but it was all the big number 1 out front, Zach.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We see the little glance back, maybe a brief lock in there from Bryce Neal, as just didn't seem like he could put that Phoenix ATV Yamaha in the wrong spot. You see even the pit stops just look picture perfect. They've got the system down, and the system is working so far here in 2026. Some slideways action as the hard-packed Talladega soil made for some great racing here today. Your top 3 staying consistent, even though the gaps we saw yo-yo back and forth.
Absolutely, and Bryce Neal just making some dust, making it harder for the competitors behind him. Once he got to the white flag, he had a pretty comfortable lead over Wyatt Wilkin. He was just clicking off mile markers, knowing that if he didn't put a wheel wrong, it would be 3 wins to start the season for him. We can see he had some great lines out there, ultimately carrying it and carrying the front end through the finish line for win number 3 of 2026 and a perfect start to the season.
Hard to do it much better than this. You see him celebrating. Curious what that cookie flavor was. I think it was peanut butter at the last one, but he is all smiles here after the finish, as was Wyatt Wilkin. Definitely beat. You could see the blister on the palm showing just how much effort it took to bring home a second here in the XC1 class. And then, man, can't say enough about Brandon Owens getting the job done for the first time in his XC1 career, putting it up on the podium. You know you're doing something right when other racers are going out of their way to congratulate you after such an impressive performance.
Absolutely. It is a banner day for Brandon Owens, and it was a banner day for GNCC Racing here, man. It was great action all day long, and here we see the rundown of the top 10. Looks like we had a couple XC2 riders working their way up in there, but Bryson Neal, Wyatt Wilkin, Brandon Owens, Josh Merritt, Jay Shadron, Stephen Harrell, Danny Paquin, the winner of the XC2 class, then John Glotto Jr., Chris Bortz with a solid ride there in 9th, and Lane McCormick, 2nd place in XC2, and rounding out the top 10 overall.
There it is. So your Rocky Mountain ATV MC top 10 here from Talladega. And Johnny, just like you said, not only an incredible day for the riders, an incredible day for us at GNCC as well. Talladega, year number 2. Man, the action is just as hot as ever.
What an opportunity to come here to Talladega Super Speedway. It's a great racing facility. Obviously, a lot of heritage here, and GNCC brought the heat here today.
No doubt about it. Now, a lot of riders walking away with some positive reinforcement. Other riders know they've got their work cut out for them. Big shout out to Hunter Hart after such a tough start, working his way up into the top 20. Didn't quite see where he ended up overall, but we know every point counts here at the top level of GNCC. Josh Merritt, John Glotto Jr., maybe wishing they could be up just a little bit more in those overall results, but hey, that's why we still got a few more rounds of racing to go. A 3-week break, everybody going to come out swinging fresh at Camp Coker.
Yeah, we got 3 down, 10 to go. We're just getting into the meat of things. Sometimes we do our little takeaway thoughts here, Zach. You know, mine for this one is just going to be the toll that round 2 took on these riders in only the 7 days to recuperate. Bryson Neal, Wyatt Wilkin, and obviously Brandon Owens kind of coming out on top, but all these riders looking weathered. And when you come right down to it, it was an absolute battle out there today. And if anybody's going to have a chance at winning a race, they're going to have to go right through the big number 1 of Bryson Neal. That's kind of my takeaway.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The takeaway is take the fight to Bryson. We've got to figure something out. The guy is lightning off the start this year. He had good starts, but he has found a way to be up inside that top 3 almost every time headed into the woods. The rest of the field, they got to figure something out because this guy gets clean air, he disappears.
Absolutely. It's been great racing action here on Racer TV from Talladega, and we're going to bring some more racing action to you here very soon, Zach.
It's Racer TV. It's all racing all the time. Here's what we've got coming up here on Racer TV. Of course, tomorrow at 12:30 p.m., our pro bike race. Don't forget, we are in Central Time here, so I saw some people on Racer TV talking about that start time. That is what that's all about. Meanwhile, after that, we've got our J-Day Off-Road second round, the Club MX GP on March 15th from 8 to 5. Then we head over to Camp Coker for round 4 of the season, March 28th and 29th, 1:30 for that ATV show, on Saturday, and of course 12:30 for that pro bike race on Sunday. Go ahead, set the reminders, click that notifications button on YouTube so you know exactly when Racer TV is going live so you don't miss a single lap of the action. Of course, we got to hand out some thank yous. None of this happens without our incredible team, starting off with our executive producer, Carrie Jo Russell, OPAG, our producer, Adam Gordon, our director, Don Hampton, our replay operator, Cameron Cotter, our engineer in charge, Jordan McFadden. All of our incredible management, Dan Reinhardt, our official spotter, Hollywood, Dave Kripe, our camera operators, Jack Renner, Mike Nichols, Chadwick Lynn, Adam Atkins, Josh Hefner, Adam Arndt, Dave Kelsch, as well as Jamie McGreevy, our drone pilot, the eyes in the sky, Gabe Scholl, our engineer, filmer, Brian Risch, and of course, for Johnny Gallagher and Jackson Burrow, I'm Zach Herron. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Racer TV.